Chapter 2201 2201 Dispersion of the Fire Sparrows 2201 Dispersion of the Fire Sparrows. The dense flames on Su Zimo's body were pure white, making him stand out in the world of scarlet flames. White flames. I heard that Su Zimo mastered a flame immortal art. Is that the flame? It doesn't seem like there's anything special about it. Many cultivators turned to look at the camp of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom instinctively. The Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom established its Tao with flames, and no sect or faction in the divine firmament immortal domain could compare to its control of flames. There are many types of flames, but there are only a few with the strongest might. For example, the Scarlet Red Lotus Karmic Fire, the Green Hellfire, the Golden Sun Essence Fire, or the Purple Heavenly Fire. Perfected Immortal Xieling pondered for a moment and said, "White flames are rather rare. However, it's impossible if he thinks that he can break through the obstruction of the fire sparrows with just a single flame." As Xieling had said, after the fire sparrows appeared, it was an unimaginable test for the earth immortals in the 9 heavens. The fire sparrows were dense and covered the skies. There was nowhere to hide. Even Feng Yin and Tai Hua, who were charging at the front, began to release some divine powers and secret skills to chase away the incoming fire sparrows. A large number of fire sparrows died tragically in front of the two of them. Although their speed had decreased significantly, they could still continue forward. However, for most people, the appearance of the fire sparrows was a devastating catastrophe. The barrier conjured by an earth immortal using a secret skill was shattered by a few fire sparrows. The earth immortal's body was completely exposed to the fire sparrows. His aura was completely different from level 1. The fire living beings in level 1 heaven were all formed from flames. This person was made of flesh and blood. The moment he was exposed, countless fire sparrows charged forward. Great Rain Summoning, Boundless Frost Seal, Violet Cloud Seal. The Earth Immortal released greater divine powers and immortal Tao secret skills one after another to fight the fire sparrows head-on. He released a deafening might and sparks flew. However, the fire sparrows were endless and more of them charged forward. Before long, the Earth Immortal was drowned by the sea of fire sparrows and his essence spirit was destroyed, dying on the spot. He seems to be ranked 93 on the Earth ranking predictions. Hanjia of a major immortal Tao clan. To think that he would fail to clear level 1 despite the fact that he's on the Earth ranking predictions, many cultivators were secretly alarmed. Everyone realized that the situation in the 9 heavens was even more tragic than they had imagined. Even paragons on the Earth ranking predictions might not be able to survive. Look at Princess Scarlet Rainbow. She's using the greater divine power, the 72 transformations, to transform into a fire sparrow and mix in with the fire sparrows. How smart. That's a way to break out of the situation indeed. Not necessarily. As everyone discussed, they saw other Earth Immortals think of this method as well. They released greater divine power and transformed into fire sparrows. Although their forms were identical to the fire sparrows, their auras could not be compared to the fire sparrows of the 9 heavens. Fire sparrows relied on sensing auras to attack. All living beings that were incompatible with the aura of this world were their targets, be it fire sparrows or the gravel and lava. Although these Earth Immortals transformed into fire sparrows unexpectedly, they were surrounded by the real fire sparrows in the blink of an eye and revealed their true forms. As for Princess Scarlet Rainbow, she was not attacked despite being among the fire sparrows. Just as everyone was puzzled, Xieling spoke. Scarlet Rainbow cultivated the Great Sun Sutra and can control flames. She can imitate the fire sparrow's flame aura to a close to the mark. Others don't have the ability to do so. If they transform rashly, it will only backfire. Su Zimo is about to encounter the fire sparrows as well. Someone shouted and attracted the attention of many cultivators. Everyone wanted to see how this grade 8 Earth Immortal of the Academy would defend against such a terrifying group of fire sparrows. Su Zimo's body burned with white flames as he looked at the approaching fire sparrows. He did not show any signs of dodging, and his movement technique did not even slow down. Instead, he welcomed them. The next moment, a shocking scene happened. Before the sea of fire sparrows could strike Suzumo, they took the initiative to avoid the detour. Right in front of everyone, the fiery red ocean seemed to have been separated from the middle by an invisible force and surged to both sides. Suzumo was bathed in white flames and looked extremely striking in the red sea of flames. However, when went against the current, the sea of flames had no intention of stopping him, and none of the fire sparrows attacked him. Many cultivators in the square were dumbfounded and confused. Even the many heaven immortals present could not tell what was going on. Interesting. Yunting smiled and clapped in praise. A look of realization flashed through Prince Yuan's eyes. As though he thought of something, he sneered. What's there to be surprised about? His Highness Yelling said earlier that the attacks of the fire sparrows relied on aura detection. Although he did not change his figure, he must have imitated the aura of the fire sparrows to not be attacked. Idiot. Suddenly, Yunting spoke and sneered. Who are you scolding? Prince Yuanzhua glared angrily. Yunting burst into laughter and pointed at Prince Yuanzhua, saying without hiding anything, Of course I'm scolding you. Princess Scarlet Rainbow released her divine power and transformed into the form of a fire sparrow, imitating its aura. However, she was only mixed in the group of fire sparrows. Is Suzumo in the same situation as Princess Scarlet Rainbow? Prince Yuanzhua was stumped by Yunting's question and was speechless for a moment. He merely clenched his fists in rage. Perfected Immortal Yelling frowned slightly and said sternly, This situation is a little strange and is indeed different from Scarlet Rainbow. The movements and trajectory of the fire sparrows seem more like fear. Towards the end, Xieling's tone became confused and uncertain. What was the fire sparrows afraid of? They were not pure living beings and did not have sentience. They only knew how to attack living beings with different auras. However, why would they feel fear towards Suzumo? In fact, even the entire fire sparrow group was opening up a path for him. White flames. Xieling murmured softly in deep thought. Although he was a perfected immortal, he did not recognize the flames on Suzumo. This was the southern Mingli fire recorded in the Hell Suppression Tripod. As for the Hell Suppression Tripod, it was the Emperor weapon of the Infinite Great Emperor and came from the ancient era that was once buried. It had been many years since then, and Xieling had naturally not seen the flames on the tripod. The reason why the fire sparrows gave way was because the southern Mingli fire originated from the vermilion bird's sacred soul. The flame was still white right now. If it was cultivated to its limits, there was a chance it could transform into a scarlet vermilion bird's sacred flame. The southern Mingli fire carried an extremely strong aura of the vermilion bird. The fire sparrows did not have high sentience. When they sensed the aura of the vermilion bird, they did not dare to attack and dodged one after another. That was why the strange and shocking scene that everyone in the square witnessed was formed. Chapter 2202 2202 Mars Stone 2202 Mars Stone. Due to the appearance of the fire sparrows, almost everyone in the nine heavens slowed down. However, Suzumo continued advancing at a high speed. Before the fire sparrows appeared, he was already in the top 100. Right now, his ranking was still rising rapidly. 50, 20, 8, 3, 1. After passing through the fire sparrows that blanketed the skies, Suzumo was already in the first place. In the distant horizon, a towering mountain could vaguely be seen. The mountain peak was scarlet red and thick black smoke billowed from it. From time to time, red lava would splash and flow slowly along the mountain peak. It was a gigantic mouth of a volcano. Above the mouth of the volcano, a teleportation formation shone with runes. Once he stepped foot on the teleportation formation, Suzumo would be able to ascend to level 2. Suzumo actually managed to get to number 1 and surpassed Feng Yin and Taihua. This is just level 1, and there are 4 more levels. The obstacles of each level are different. That's right. Coincidentally, This person specializes in a fire secret skill. That's why he's like a fish in water in level 1 and can surpass others. It won't be so easy for him after he ascends to other spaces. As everyone discussed, Zemo released his movement technique and had already descended on the teleportation formation above the mouth of the volcano. Standing on the teleportation formation, Zemo surveyed his surroundings coldly. The teleportation formation was located in the middle of level 1. The Earth Immortals participating in the elimination rounds of the Earth ranking were scattered around level 1 and were heading towards the middle. Standing here, he could observe everything from the high ground. However, Zemo looked for a while, but no one appeared in his line of sight. Zemo was in no hurry to ascend to level 2. He intended to kill cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect here. Since there was no room for negotiation, Zemo would not hold back either. Rather than retaliate passively, he might as well attack first. If Immortal Taihua of Flying Immortal Sect were to arrive, he would not mind killing this person here first to resolve a huge problem. Why is Zemo standing there? Why isn't he ascending as soon as possible to shake off others? Some people were puzzled. Good. Yun Ting's eyes lit up. He understood Zemo's intentions and could not help but praise repeatedly. Prince Yuan Zhua and Heaven Immortal White Sea exchanged glances and frowned slightly. Zemo's rise to number 1 had completely exceeded their expectations and spoiled their plans. If Zemo was guarding here, it meant that there was a high chance that Immortal Taihua would meet Zemo beforehand. The two of them were not worried that Immortal Taihua would lose. However, that way, it would be difficult to form an encirclement, and they might not have a 100% chance of killing Zemo. Right then, Zemo, who was on the teleportation formation of level 1, suddenly leaped down and arrived at the edge of the mouth of the volcano below, surveying his surroundings. His actions attracted everyone's attention once more. What was he trying to do? Just as everyone was puzzled, Zemo made another shocking move. He leaped down from the edge of the mouth of the volcano and actually jumped into the scorching lava. That scene caused an uproar. Perfected Immortal Xieling frowned slightly. Stunned for a moment, Xie Qingqing paused for a moment before turning to look at Xieling, who was not far away, and sending a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Second brother, I remember that there's a Mars stone in the depths of the mouth of the volcano? That's right, Xieling said. To think that this lad could sense this item. Is he trying to take away the Mars stone? Mars was a star condensed from flames and had existed in the upper world since ancient times. As for the Mars stone, it was a stone that fell off the star. Although it was only the size of a palm, it contained an extremely pure and condensed power of flames and was a rare treasure. The source of power for the fire giants, fire sparrows, and other living beings that might be born in level 1 was actually the Mars stone. It could be said that the Mars stone was the foundation of level 1. The Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom had held the Earth ranking competition many times. Countless paragons and monster incarnates had participated as well. However, no one dared to enter the volcano and harbor designs on the Mars stone. The Mars stone contained the extreme power of fire to begin with and even contained a trace of spirit consciousness that was extremely offensive. Outsiders would definitely be attacked if they tried to touch it. It was difficult for Earth Immortals to defend against the power of that attack. Many cultivators could not help but follow Zemo into the mouth of the volcano with their eyes. Everyone seemed to be in it, and their surroundings were filled with lava as they followed Zemo down. 9 Heavens. Initially, Zemo intended to hunt Earth Immortals of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect near the teleportation formation. However, there was a commotion in his consciousness from the Hell Suppression tripod that had been silent for a long time. He was extremely familiar with that activity. There might be a treasure worth the Hell Suppression tripod devouring in the vicinity. Thereafter, when Zemo leaped down from the teleportation formation and arrived at the edge of the mouth of the volcano, the activity of the Hell Suppression tripod became increasingly obvious. That was the reason why he dived into the depths of the volcano. The Hell Suppression tripod was way too important to him. This treasure was once an emperor weapon and had saved his life countless times. Right now, 3 sides of the hell suppression tripod had been repaired. As for the souls of the sacred beasts on the 3 sides, because of the previous few combats, their strength was completely exhausted and they fell asleep. If he could repair the 4th hell suppression tripod, the taboo mystic classic on it would appear completely. Even if he could not repair the 4th tripod wall, if he could awaken the souls of 1 or 2 sacred beasts, it would be a powerful method for him to survive at critical moments. The combat strength of a sacred soul was comparable to a top heaven immortal. Therefore, Zimo dived into the depths of the volcano without hesitation and released his spirit consciousness to probe continuously. This was also because the Green Lotus true body had a strong physique and terrifying bloodline. If an ordinary body of flesh and blood were to leap into the lava, they would have turned into ashes long ago without a corpse left. Relying on his Green Lotus true body, Zimo dived continuously and the temperature in the lava increased. He realized that he was getting closer to the treasure in the depths of the volcano. After a long time, the surrounding lava had already turned dark red. Even the Green Lotus true body could not withstand it. His skin was burned red, and when cracks appeared, Zimo's feet missed. His figure suddenly broke free from the lava and fell. He realized that he was getting closer to the treasure in the depths of the volcano. After a long time, the surrounding lava had already turned dark red. Even the Green Lotus true body could not withstand it. His skin was burned red, and when cracks appeared, Zimo's feet missed. His figure suddenly broke free from the lava and fell. He had already arrived at the bottom of the volcano. There was a secret space hidden in the depths of the boiling lava. Zimo entered the space, and the surrounding temperature increased to a terrifying degree. His Green Lotus true body sizzled and burned with smoke. He took a deep breath of air. Right in front of him, a scarlet stone the size of a fist hovered in midair. It released a heat that could incinerate all beings. Chapter 2203, 2203 Ridiculous Joke. 2203 Ridiculous Joke. The space around the scarlet stone was distorted from the heat. The temperature was way too high. Zimo's green robes had already turned into ashes, and his body was shrouded by raging flames that burned the Green Lotus true body continuously. There were layers of lava in the depths of the volcano. Due to the existence of the Mars stone, the space at the bottom of the volcano was distorted and blurry. Therefore, many cultivators in the square could not see what was going on inside. Everyone could only vaguely see a figure advancing with difficulty in the depths of the volcano, approaching a gigantic ball of flames. Feng Yin, Taihua, and the others had already arrived above the volcano. After they arrived at the teleportation formation, they did not stop and ascended to level 2, surpassing Zimo once more in terms of ranking. However, at that moment, most of the cultivators in the square were focused on the figure in the depths of the volcano. The Mars stone was the foundation of level 1. The power of all living beings in level 1, such as the lava giants and fire sparrows, came from this Mars stone. In other words, the power of the Mars stone far surpassed the lava giants and fire sparrows. Perfected Immortal Xieling frowned slightly. What's that lad trying to do? Is he going to give up his life for this Mars stone? In the depths of the volcano, Zimo had a pained expression and felt that the flames were extremely powerful and damaging, as though they wanted to seep into his organs and burn him to ashes. Even with the bloodline of perfected Immortal Green Lotus, he could not withstand it at this moment. Under the invasion of such a terrifying external force, the bloodline of the Green Lotus true body began to circulate on its own. The closer he was to the Mars stone, the faster his bloodline circulated. At that time, before he could touch the Mars stone, the aura of the Green Lotus true body might not be able to conceal itself and burst forth. Actually, if not for the fact that he could not use his dermic treasures in the 9 heavens, Zimo would have been able to devour the Mars stone with the hell suppression tripod. However, once a dermic treasure was summoned here, it would definitely be sensed by the heaven and earth laws, and he would be killed. There was no need to take that risk. However, He was bent on getting his hands on the Mars stone before him. The southern Mingli fire on his body was suppressed by the flames of the Mars stone and was about to extinguish. Su Zimo conjured hand seals repeatedly, and 3 balls of terrifying flames appeared beside him. The immortal, Buddhist, and Fiend Dao fires. The 3 balls of flames circled around him and fought against the flames released by the Mars stone. Although they were both flames, the power of the 2 flames could not fuse. With the 4 flames, Su Zimo was getting closer to the Mars stone, and it was within reach. When he saw that, Xia Qingqing looked worried and murmured, "Brother Su, your decision is way too risky. It's not worth it." "What is risky about it? The Mars stone?" Su Xiaotian could vaguely tell that Xia Qingqing was implying something and asked out of concern. "It's not just the Mars stone." Xia Qingqing said sternly, "Su Zimo's actions will affect his upcoming fight for the Earth ranking. He might even lose his life or be unable to enter the final ranking battle." "Is it that serious?" Su Xiaotian was shocked. Xia Qingqing asked instead, "In the 9 Heavens elimination round, do you know what is truly being tested? Who can reach level 5 in the shortest time with their combat strength?" Su Xiaotian said naturally. Over the past few days, he had also gained some knowledge about the Earth ranking. Xia Qingqing shook his head. "That's only on the surface. The 9 Heavens elimination round is not only a test of combat strength, but also of one's judgment of the situation, consumption of essence qi, control of time, decisiveness in releasing methods, and so on." Su Xiaotian was at a loss. Xia Qingqing said, "Have you noticed that although powerful paragons like Feng Yin and Tai Hua encountered some obstacles along the way after entering the 9 Heavens, they did not reveal many methods?" Su Xiaotian nodded. Feng Yin, Tai Hua, and the other paragons and monster incarnates merely used a few divine powers and secret skills to get through level 1. Xia Qingqing said, "The reason why they held back was so that they could pass through the next 4 levels easier. However, Brother Su released such a powerful flame immortal art secret skill in advance. If he encounters any other danger later on, he won't be able to use this secret skill." Su Xiaotian understood. For a secret skill as powerful as this, it required a relatively long time to recover and took a huge toll on the essence spirit and essence qi. But now that Su Zimo released this secret skill in advance, it would have a huge impact on his future. Fufu. When Prince Yuanzhua saw Feng Yin, Tai Hua, and the others surpass Su Zimo once more, he heaved a sigh of relief and sneered, as expected of an ant that ascended from the lower worlds. "You don't have much knowledge and want to take all the treasures you see for yourself. Why don't you take a look at your own capabilities? If I'm not wrong, the stone in the depths of the volcano should be the Mars stone." Heaven Immortal White Sea waved his folding fan gently and said, "The value of the Mars stone is comparable to a sentient dermic treasure. It's definitely the foundation of level 1. This lad doesn't know his limits at all and wants to remove the entire foundation of level 1. What a joke. How utterly ridiculous." There was indeed such a rule in the 9 Heavens that the treasures within were opportunities. As long as cultivators could obtain them, they could keep them. However, even if no one from the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom said anything, everyone could guess that the Mars stone was definitely not among them. Who would leave a treasure comparable to a sentient dermic treasure for an Earth immortal? Perfected Immortal Xieling smiled as well and said, "It's fine. When he sees that things won't work out later on, he'll naturally retreat in the face of difficulties. The Mars stone has already nurtured a spirit consciousness in the 9 Heavens, and no one can take it away." Right then, a change happened in the depths of the volcano. The floating Mars stone seemed to have sensed Su Zimo approaching and suddenly released a shocking power. A gigantic flame spewed out and transformed around him rapidly, turning into a gigantic, soaring serpent. Flapping its flaming wings, it descended from the skies and devoured towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo's gaze intensified. Without dodging or avoiding, he guided his hands in midair and gathered the 4 balls of flames around him. At the same time, a spirit consciousness flame was released from his glabella and entered the 4 balls of flames. An even more terrifying flame was formed. The Pankati Dao fire burst forth. What immense strength! Perfected immortal Xieling's eyes lit up and his expression changed slightly as he exclaimed softly. Boom! Su Zimo smashed the Pankati Dao fire towards the soaring serpent that was charging over. With a loud bang, the entire volcano shook and swayed. The surrounding space became even more distorted, and everyone's vision turned blurry. Among the cultivators in the square, only Heaven Immortal experts could vaguely see the situation inside. Su Zimo took advantage of the moment when the Pankati Dao fire collided with the soaring serpent to take a step forward and extend his arm to grab the Mars stone. Chapter 2204, 2204 Forceful Refinement. 2204 Forceful Refinement. Sizzle. The moment Su Zimo gripped the Mars stone, a jarring sound echoed from his palm as green smoke billowed. The flesh on his palm burned at a visible speed. In less than 2 breaths, the flesh on his palm had turned into nothingness. The jade-green lotus bones were only not burned to ashes by the Mars stone because it experienced the forging of thunder. This is bad. When he saw that, Xie Qingcheng frowned and exclaimed softly. What he was worried about earlier on had happened. To think that Su Zimo did not retreat and chose to snatch the Mars stone forcefully. He could not withstand the power of the Mars stone at all. Now, it was equivalent to a crippled palm for Su Zimo. As an Earth Immortal, he could definitely regrow this broken limb. However, the damage caused by the Mars stone might not recover completely even after hundreds or thousands of years. Now, even if Su Zimo let go, the Mars stone had already caused him immense damage. There was no longer much hope for him to contend for the Earth ranking. With his arm crippled and such a powerful fire secret skill released, it was difficult for him to be ranked on the Earth ranking given the immense consumption. The elders of the Academy had grim expressions and could not help but stand up to look at the scene in the mirror. Ha 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 ha. Prince Yuanzhua could not help but laugh. He felt incomparably delighted when he saw Su Zimo in such a state. Initially, Yunting was not concerned about this elimination round. In his opinion, the so-called 9 heavens could not stop Su Zimo at all. But now that he saw such a change, he frowned slightly and looked at the figure in the depths of the volcano fixedly. This lad is truly way too persistent. Perfected Immortal Xieling shook his head and sighed. Initially, he thought highly of this disciple of the Academy. After all, someone worthy of Yunting's personal challenge must have some tricks up his sleeves even though he came from a lowly background. But now that he saw how stubborn this lad was, he could not help but feel disappointed. Actually, the reason why he said that this lad was persistent was because he wanted to give face to Heaven and Earth Academy. In his opinion, this lad had lost his mind because he was too greedy. No matter how talented a cultivator as such was, his future accomplishments would be limited. Right then, the figure in the depths of the volcano did something unexpected. Even though he was severely injured, Su Zimo did not let go. Instead, he gripped the Mars stone tightly and stuffed it into his consciousness. What is he doing? Is he crazy? Su Zimo committed suicide? Most of the Earth Immortals in the square could not see what was happening inside, and could only hear the Heaven Immortal experts in the sect shouting. Initially, these Heaven Immortal experts were calm and experienced. However, they seemed to have seen something and were shocked at the moment. A Heaven Immortal expert gasped and was speechless. Su Zimo probably can't withstand the pain and stuffed the Mars stone into his consciousness. When everyone heard that, they felt chills run down their spines. Everyone witnessed the power of the Mars stone. This was something that even a body of flesh and blood could not defend against. Even a Heaven Immortal would not be able to withstand it being stuffed into their consciousness. Yunting's gaze was sharp as a sword as he glared at the mirror in the firmaments. He did not believe this. There was no way Su Zimo would commit suicide. Right then, the other Heaven Immortals gradually calmed down as well. They looked into the depths of the volcano with changed expressions. The space in the depths of the volcano gradually stabilized. Many cultivators could see everything clearly as well. Su Zimo was not dead. Unknowingly, He had already taken out a brand new green robe from his storage bag and wore it once more. His right hand that was burned by the Mars stone was hidden under his wide robes, and no one could see it. The depths of the volcano returned to normal. Suzimo was still the same as before with black hair and green robes. However, the Mars stone in front of him had already vanished. He's not dead. Xie Qingqing, the Academy elders, Prince Yuan Zhua, Heaven Immortal Whitesea, and many other Heaven Immortal experts were dumbfounded in disbelief. Even perfected Immortal Xieling was stunned on the spot, not knowing what happened. Look, something is happening to level 1. Someone exclaimed. In level 1, the lava giants who were initially stopping many Earth Immortals and killing wantonly as well as the Fire Sparrows seemed to have suffered a blow. Their eyes dimmed as they dissipated. The massive body of the lava giants exploded, turning into thick and scorching lava that splashed onto the ground. The Fire Sparrows dissipated as well, turning into scarlet clouds that floated in the skies like a sunset glow. The Mars stone was suppressed? Perfected Immortal Xieling blinked and murmured. That was the only possibility that could explain the scene before him. In other words, Suzimo stuffed the Mars stone into his consciousness and suppressed it instead. Xieling had more or less guessed it. The Mars stone was stuffed into Suzimo's consciousness and devoured by the Hell Suppression Tripod. Not only was it suppressed, it was also being refined by the Hell Suppression Tripod. Dermic treasures could not be used in the 9 heavens. However, the Hell Suppression Tripod did everything in Suzimo's consciousness and was not against the rules. Even the heaven and earth laws of the 9 heavens had no feedback, allowing his actions. Prince Yuan Zhua was stunned for a long time before gradually reacting. He wanted to say something, but his mind was in a mess. He only said instinctively, "That's not good, right?" Heaven Immortal Whitesea spread his folding fan and said in a deep voice, "Your Highness Xieling, the Mars stone is the foundation of the 9 heavens and is priceless. How can we let this lad take it away casually?" This? Xieling remained silent. Fu, a sneer sounded from the side. Yunting pouted. "In my opinion, the rules of the 9 heavens are just for show. We can't take away everything inside casually. Otherwise, I guess hearts will be broken." Yunting was clearly mocking Xieling and the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom. Perfected Immortal Xieling took a deep breath and was not angered. Suddenly, he smiled and said, "The foundation of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom is strong and it's just a Mars stone. It's no big deal." By saying that, it meant that this matter could no longer be pursued. Prince Yuan Zhua and Heaven Immortal Whitesea were helpless and could only sit back down. Prince Yuan's was sneered. "So what if he obtains the Mars stone? That lad has expended a lot of energy in that fight earlier on. Now that he has released his trump card and crippled a palm, let's see how he's going to fight for the Earth ranking." Right then, Suzimo left the depths of the volcano and passed through the lava, returning to the mouth of the volcano. He took out the badge in his storage bag and took a look. Initially, he was in the first place. After this delay, he was now in the 200,000 region. Suzimo's expression was indifferent. Everything was within his control. Given his capabilities, it would not be difficult for him to charge into the Earth ranking. Chapter 2205, 2205 Sunset. 2205 Sunset. Suzimo focused his gaze and observed the activity of the Hell Suppression Tripod in his consciousness. The power of the Mars stone was more compatible with the Vermilion Bird's sacred soul. Therefore, it was absorbed by the Vermilion Bird's sacred soul first. If nothing went wrong, the Vermilion Bird's sacred soul would definitely awaken after refining the Mars stone. If the Mars stone was not completely refined after the Vermilion Bird's sacred soul awakened, there was a chance that he could continue repairing the 4th tripod wall. As Suzimo pondered, his heart skipped a beat. According to Princess Scarlet Rainbow and the others, each level of the 9 heavens were non-identical and the tribulations and obstacles they had to experience were completely different. Did this mean that there were treasures similar to the Mars stone in the other levels? At that thought, Suzimo's eyes lit up. If he could snatch all the treasures in level 2, 3, and 4, there was hope for the hell suppression tripod to be repaired. Of course, that was only his speculation. At that thought, Zemo soared into the air and arrived at the teleportation formation, prepared to ascend to level 2. Fellow Taoist, save me. Right then, a tragic cry sounded not far away. Zemo turned around suddenly and saw a cultivator staggering and crawling with difficulty halfway up the mountain. His body was emitting scarlet flames, and he was burned into charcoal from the inside out, no longer recognizable as a human. However, one could vaguely see the person's pained expression and eyes filled with struggle and despair. He extended his arm, as though he wanted to touch the teleportation formation at the peak. Unfortunately, that person's life force had already dispersed. Even if Zemo reached out, it would be useless. The person collapsed halfway up the mountain and was devoured by the lava that spewed out from the peak, disappearing before long. Ah! A tragic cry sounded from another direction. Zemo glanced sideways. Under the 9 blazing suns, a cultivator finally could not hold on any longer. His final divine power dissipated, and his essence chi dried up. He was engulfed by the flames around him, and in the blink of an eye, he was devoured without a corpse left. Zemo could see such figures everywhere he looked. Although there were no lava giants, fire sparrows, or other living beings, the power of flames in this space was still extremely terrifying. More and more cultivators could not hold on. The most frightening thing was that there was almost nowhere to hide in the 9 heavens, and every single corner was enveloped by the 9 blazing suns. This did not seem like the 9 heavens, but a blazing hell where countless living beings struggled to survive and let out despairing roars. This was the cruelty of the 9 heavens to begin with. If one was afraid of death and did not know their limits, they should not participate in the Earth ranking competition. These people had nothing to do with Zemo. He would not feel any unnecessary sympathy either. However, he knew in his heart that most of the cultivators who died in level 1 were from lowly black-grade sects and itinerant cultivators. He was just like them in the past. Most people of Tianhuang mainland who ascended would be as such as well. Most of them did not expect to be ranked on the Earth ranking, although they took part in the elimination round. Perhaps they merely wanted to come to the 9 heavens to encounter opportunities and gain experience. However, these people did not even have a way out. After entering the 9 heavens, there was nowhere to retreat, and life and death was irreversible. Standing on the teleportation formation, Zemo looked back at the many figures struggling in the sea of flames in the distance. Suddenly, he took a deep breath and channeled his essence spirit, causing the essence chi in his body to surge wildly. In the blink of an eye, a gigantic bow appeared between Zemo's palms. 9 essence chi arrows floated around the bow. What is he trying to do? What pure and condensed essence chi! To think that it can evolve into the shape of a weapon! Everyone in the square exclaimed. Right on the heels of that, right in front of countless gazes, Zemo bent his knees and drew the bowstring. He loaded an arrow, and the entire bow was drawn into the shape of a full moon. Swoosh! The bowstring quivered gently, and the arrow shot into the skies like a meteor, piercing through the firmaments. A blazing sun was penetrated, and after a brief pause, it exploded and fell from midair. The temperature in the world seemed to have dipped slightly. Zemo continued to load his bow. Swoosh! 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 9 consecutive arrows were shot. All 9 blazing suns fell. The flames of level 1 were still burning. However, without the envelopment of the 9 blazing suns, the pressure on the remaining cultivators was greatly reduced. At the very least, most cultivators would be able to survive. Damn it! Those 9 suns are finally extinguished. I think I saw arrows penetrate the 9 blazing suns and shoot them down. Ha 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 ha! I survived. Everyone was overjoyed after surviving a calamity. Should we continue forward? Do you want to die? Just stay here and try your luck everywhere. Don't forget, there's 4 more levels after this. This is a chance given to us by the heavens. If we don't know what's good for us and continue forward, we'll truly be courting death. By the time the 9 blazing suns fell, Zemo had already ascended and did not linger. Countless cultivators in level 1 cheered. However, the square outside was silent. Zemo's action had exceeded everyone's expectations. It shocked everyone present even more than when he snatched the Mars stone. Everyone in the huge square remained silent for a long time. Zemo's actions seemed a little ridiculous and childish. However, for some unknown reason, a corner in the depths of everyone's hearts seemed to be touched gently. Many cultivators had conflicted expressions. Even perfected immortal Xialing frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. Heh. Suddenly, Yunting smiled and said, Zemo, you're amazing. As though he was jolted awake, Prince Yuan's was suddenly burst into laughter and said, How foolish! To think that he would have to expend so much essence chi to save some unrelated ants in this elimination round of the 9 heavens. This time round, no one replied. Who was not an ant in this vast world? In the crowd at the back, a heaven immortal strode to the table of Heaven and Earth Academy and bowed deeply to the Academy elders. Those good-for-nothing disciples of my Flying Frost sect managed to survive because of your Academy's disciple. Thank you for the saving grace. Heaven and Earth Academy is truly worthy of the title of an immortal sect. The Heaven Immortal of another Black Raid sect stood up and came before Heaven and Earth Academy, bowing as well. More and more cultivators stood out and arrived before Heaven and Earth Academy. Among them were Heaven Immortals of Black Raid sects, elders of Earth Grade sects, representatives of family clans, and masters who had disciples inside. In the blink of an eye, the table of Heaven and Earth Academy was filled with people bowing in thanks. As immortals, we should uphold justice and benevolence. Fellow Taoists, there's no need for that. Elder Zhong gestured for everyone to stand up and said casually. Elder, he was experienced and wise as well. Coughing gently, he said sternly, as a disciple of the Academy, there was naturally no way he could leave them in the lurch when he saw something like that. Although they said that, the elders of the Academy stroked their long beards gently. Their faces were rosy and they were in high spirits, almost beaming with pride. Chapter 2206, 2206 Seabed, 2206 Seabed. This matter might be a small matter for the entire Earth ranking competition and would be forgotten before long. However, after that incident, the attitudes of the many sects, factions, and cultivators in the square towards this Academy disciple changed drastically. Initially, most people were merely watching the show and gloating over the feud between Zemo and the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. Right now, they hoped that this disciple of the Academy would be able to leave his name on the Earth ranking and avoid danger in the 9 heavens. Unknowingly, the human heart had already deviated. Right, did you guys notice that Zemo's right hand seems to have recovered? Right then, a cultivator recalled the scene of Zemo shooting the arrows and asked uncertainly. That seems to be the case. That can't be. Zemo was injured by the Mars stone, and the flesh on his palm turned into ashes. How can he recover to his original state in such a short period of time? Everyone only reacted when someone mentioned that person. Many Heaven Immortals were shocked when they recalled what happened earlier on. What terrifying regeneration capabilities! Xie Qingqing exclaimed. Perfected Immortal Xialing nodded to himself as well. His flesh was incinerated by the Mars stone. The fact that he could heal in such a short period of time meant that his regeneration capabilities were almost comparable to blood rebirth. Level 2. After Zemo ascended, he arrived on a lone island. All he could see was an endless ocean. However, the surrounding seawater shone with silver light and was extremely different from ordinary seawater. Zemo squatted down and scooped up a handful of seawater. His wrist sank slightly. It's indeed 1 essence heavy water? Zemo murmured softly. 1 essence heavy water was extremely rare. If one refined a lake, they might only be able to obtain a single drop, A single drop weighed tens of thousands of kilograms. The entire space was filled with one essence heavy water. Before entering the 9 heavens, Princess Scarlet Rainbow had mentioned to him that if he encountered a sea world, it would be formed by one essence heavy water and the teleportation formation would be at the bottom of the sea. The pressure that cultivators had to endure in the one essence heavy water was unimaginable. A single drop of one essence heavy water weighed tens of thousands of pounds. The surroundings were filled with one essence heavy water, and the pressure was suffocating. As for the teleportation formation at the bottom of the sea, one had to dive continuously. The deeper one dived, the greater the pressure in the ocean, notwithstanding the pressure of the one essence heavy water. In the end, if they did not have a strong physique and many immortal arts and divine powers to protect them, the pressure at the bottom of the sea would be enough to crush their bodies. That was merely the obstruction of the marine environment. What was even more frightening was that similar to level 1, there would also be many living beings or changes in the ocean. If an earthquake or tsunami were to break out, the pressure on cultivators would increase dozens of times. Without hesitation, Zimo leaped into the ocean and headed towards the depths of the sea. The green lotus true body did not feel much pressure in the ocean formed by the one essence heavy water. Even as he ventured deeper, the one essence heavy water could not cause any damage to the grade 10 green lotus true body. However, before long, many living beings began to appear around Zimo. A large number of fish swam over, and a large shadow enveloped him with a suffocating aura of death. Far away, a cultivator released his divine powers and immortal arts, wanting to buy time. However, in the blink of an eye, he was torn apart by the fishes, leaving only a skeleton that sank into the depths of the sea. Zimo's expression was unchanged as he conjured hand seals with both hands and channeled his spirit consciousness. Heaven and earth essence chi gathered rapidly and formed a fist-sized black water in front of him. The black water appeared and formed a vacuum around Zimo, pushing away the surrounding one essence heavy water. With a thought of his spirit consciousness, Zimo dispersed the black water and enveloped himself, forming a barrier that resembled clothes. The fish at the front closed in but dispersed as though they were suddenly frightened. Zimo smiled gently and continued advancing towards the bottom of the sea. The black water was the secret skill inherited from the black tortoise sacred soul in the hell suppression tripod, the heavenly perfected water. The heavenly perfected water was elite and was the essence of all water. A single drop could transform into a vast ocean and was much stronger than the one essence heavy water. Initially, Zimo could only condense a single drop. As a grade 8 earth immortal, he could already condense a ball. The heavenly perfected water originated from the black tortoise sacred soul and naturally contained the aura of the black tortoise. To the living beings in the ocean, that aura was like a divine being. What sort of a technique is this? Zimo has so many trump cards. Many cultivators in the square stirred once more when they saw that. Heaven Abyss of Mountain Sea immortal sex expression changed slightly as he said slowly, "If I'm not wrong, that lad should have condensed the heavenly perfected water." Heavenly perfected water. Perfected immortal Xieling exclaimed softly. Pausing for a moment, Xieling smiled and said, "If he has the heavenly perfected water to protect him, level 2 would not be a problem for him. It might not be a good thing for that lad to use such a powerful secret skill in advance." Heaven Abyss shook his head gently. In his opinion, a powerful secret skill like the heavenly perfected water could be used in the ranking battle against Feng Yin, Taihua, and the others. However, in reality, this was only one of Zimo's many methods. Even if he used it in advance, it would not affect his combat strength much. With the protection of the heavenly perfected water, the surrounding one essence heavy water posed almost no resistance to the green lotus true body, and Zimo's speed was at its limits. He dived into the depths of the sea as though he was treading on flat ground, and his speed increased. His ranking was also rising rapidly. Previously, he fell behind by more than 200,000 because of the Mars stone. Before he arrived at the teleportation formation in level 2, Zimo had already returned to the top 10,000 and his ranking was still rising rapidly. However, Feng Yin and Tai Hua were not slow this time round. By the time Zimo arrived at the teleportation formation, there were 8 people in front of him. Feng Yin and Tai Hua were still ranked at the top 2. Standing on the teleportation formation, Zimo looked around. Not far away from the teleportation formation, there was a deep and dark ravine that was bottomless and emitted a cold aura. In a flash, Zimo swam towards the trench. Indeed, when he arrived at the edge of the trench, the hell suppression tripod in his consciousness trembled slightly. Zimo's eyes lit up. After a moment of hesitation, he leaped down and sneaked into the depths of the trench. In the square, many cultivators were stunned when they saw that, not knowing what Zimo was going to do. Xie Qingqing glanced sideways at perfected immortal Xieling and coughed gently, asking softly, "Second brother, that seems to be." Xieling grit his teeth and said, "This person is truly a robber." Chapter 2207, 2207 Assault. 2207 Assault. There's someone else over there. In the square, someone pointed to the trench at the bottom of the sea. Apart from Zimo, another figure in level 2 dived into the trench as well, as though he had a motive. Perfected Immortal Xieling had a conflicted expression as he said coldly, "There are truly some special characters in the Earth ranking competition this time round. They have the courage to covet every single thing they see." The elders of the academy looked straight and pretended not to understand. However, many people could hear the bitterness in Xieling's tone. A treasure like the Mars Stone was extremely precious to perfected immortals as well. The loss of one of such items in the 9 heavens was already enough to make Xieling's heart ache. If he lost another, his head might hurt. That's the great commander of the execution guards of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom, Taihan. Some cultivators recognized the origin of that figure. Strange, why did he choose to dive into that trench as well? Many cultivators whispered among themselves. When perfected Immortal Xieling saw that, he knew that he could not hide it either and declared, "In that trench is the foundation of level 2, a piece of mercury ice." Mercury ice. The eyes of many heaven immortals present lit up. Mercury was among the many stars and was formed from water. It was ranked alongside Mars. As for the rocks on Mercury, they were like ice blocks that were almost transparent, emitting a chilling tint that froze everything. If a piece of mercury ice was used to cultivate water and ice element cultivation techniques and secret skills, it would take less effort. If one were to create a sentient dermic treasure and add it in, it would raise the grade of the dermic treasure by at least a level and its power would increase significantly. For example, a sentient dermic treasure might only be an 8 tribulations spirit treasure. If a piece of mercury ice was added, the sentient dermic treasure could become a 9 tribulations spirit treasure, the legendary pure yang spirit treasure. Even heaven immortals and perfected immortals were tempted by such a treasure, let alone earth immortals. "I got it," a cultivator said in a deep voice. "I heard that Taihan's physique is special and he has an ice physique. Furthermore, he cultivated some top-tier ice attribute cultivation technique. He must be trying to make use of this mercury ice to advance his cultivation. This is going to be interesting." Zimo and Taihan have their eyes on this mercury ice at the same time. There's probably going to be a battle between the two of them in advance. Right in front of everyone, Taihan did not dive at a fast speed. He was extremely cautious. If not for that temperament, he would not have been able to become the great commander of the Earth Execution Guards. On the other side, Zimo dived at an extremely fast speed. The two of them were far apart and were not on the same path, separated by the vast seawater. Before long, Zimo had already surpassed Taihan and was getting closer to mercury ice. Just as Taihan was diving, he suddenly paused, as though he sensed something. Right on the heels of that, he changed direction slightly and sneaked towards Zimo's direction. He was even slower and more careful. Taihan's senses are so sharp. Zimo passed through the sea at high speed. The fluctuation of the seawater is a little strong and has already alerted him. When the elders of the academy saw that, they became nervous. In the depths of the sea, visibility and spirit consciousness detection range were limited, and the two of them could not see the other party's existence. Taihan dived slowly and did not cause any fluctuations in the depths of the sea. However, it was the opposite for Su Zimo. By exposing his existence, he attracted Taihan's attention and alertness. Right now, Taihan could sense Su Zimo's existence. However, Su Zimo was oblivious to Taihan. One of them was in the open, while the other was in the dark. Before they even started fighting, Su Zimo was already disadvantaged. In the deep sea trench, Su Zimo dived the entire way without encountering any obstacles. There were no living beings in the trench, and as he dived deeper, the temperature of the seawater decreased as well. If it was any other cultivator, their bloodline would have frozen long ago. However, the Green Lotus True Body had a strong physique and his bloodline flowed silently within his body. It circulated smoothly the entire time and allowed Su Zimo to maintain his peak condition. Su Zimo did not know where the treasure of level 2 was. However, as long as he searched through the depths of the cold, he would definitely be able to find the source of the chill. After a long time, Su Zimo gradually stopped in his tracks. Not far ahead, a fist-sized ice block floated. It was crystal clear and emitted a chilling intent that even the Green Lotus True Body felt extremely uncomfortable. Even though he was in the seawater, Su Zimo's brows and hair were already covered by a layer of frost. His clothes were already frozen and became incomparably tough. If not for the envelopment of the heavenly perfected water, his clothes would have been frozen into ice shards. In a flash, Su Zimo floated towards the ice block. The closer he was, the colder it was. In the end, the coldness even penetrated the flesh of the Green Lotus True Body and froze his bloodline into ice that he could not circulate. Su Zimo's lips were purplish from the cold. However, he could still maintain his clarity. Although his bloodline was frozen, his Green Lotus bone had undergone a baptism of thunder before. Countless electric arcs flashed continuously in his body to defend against the coldness. Su Zimo's speed decreased. Finally, the ice block was within reach. Su Zimo raised his arm and grabbed the ice block. Suddenly, a powerful life force burst forth from the ice block. Immediately after, endless coldness gathered and formed a gigantic divine turtle in the depths of the sea. It roared at Su Zimo and charged over. Su Zimo's gaze intensified, and he was in no hurry. Previously, when he subdued the Mars stone, he encountered such a counterattack. This time round, he was prepared as well. Su Zimo channeled his spirit consciousness and circulated his massive divine powers, forming a turtle shell in front of him rapidly. It shone with mysterious patterns and sparkled brightly, blocking in front of him. Immediately after, his spirit consciousness moved and the heavenly perfected water on his body flowed rapidly, covering the turtle shell. Innate divine power, spirit turtle shield. Initially, this was only a spirit turtle from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. However, because of the existence of the heavenly perfected water, the spirit turtle shield had an additional aura of the black tortoise sacred soul. The frost divine turtle that was charging over was slightly stunned, and its strength weakened slightly. However, it still charged over fiercely. Right then, a warning flashed in Su Zimo's mind. Suddenly, a strange feeling came from the seawater behind him. Someone was there. When they saw that, many cultivators in the square held their breaths and widened their eyes. As bystanders, they naturally saw everything clearly. Taihan followed Su Zimo all the way down and arrived here as well, but he did not attack rashly. He was waiting patiently. It was only when Su Zimo snatched away the mercury ice and triggered its spirit consciousness to resist that he appeared and suddenly attacked. The timing of the attack could be said to be perfect. Chapter 2208, 2208 Scram. 2208 Scram. The hearts of the Academy elders skipped a beat, and they looked nervous. Prince Yuanzhua could not suppress the excitement in his heart and even stood up instinctively. He clenched his fists and glared at the scene in the depths of the sea with a menacing and excited expression, as though he could see Su Zimo die. Actually, Tai Han's attack this time round was not within the plans of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. However, if he could make use of this opportunity to kill Su Zimo, it would save him a lot of trouble. Furthermore, Tai Han could keep Su Zimo's storage bag and no longer have to share the treasures with Flying Immortal Sect. This is bad, Xie Qingqing exclaimed softly. As a prince of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom, he had also participated in the elimination round of the Nine Heavens back when he was an Earth Immortal. His understanding of the Nine Heavens far surpassed others. In that trench of the deep sea, the chill was bone-chilling and one's vision, spirit consciousness, five senses, and everything else were reduced to their limits and blurred. Right now, Su Zimo was facing Mercury Ice's spirit consciousness head-on and had no time to be distracted. There was no way he could sense the killing intent behind him. By the time he reacted, Tai Han's killing move was most likely already on him. Right in front of everyone, two figures converged rapidly under the shadow of the gigantic Frost Divine Turtle. Indeed, Tai Han attacked and slashed down at Su Zimo's head like a saber. At that moment, Tai Han's palm made use of the cold air around the deep sea to condense a corporeal saber that slashed down. That lad is dead. Perfected Immortal Xie Ling shook his head gently and murmured with a regretful expression. Tai Han's attack was even more terrifying than everyone had imagined. To begin with, Tai Han's combat strength could be ranked in the top 10. And now, in the depths of the sea, his combat strength was not weakened because of Mercury Ice. Instead, it was strengthened. He made use of his surroundings to release an even more terrifying killing power. Even Yun Ting frowned slightly when he saw Tai Han attack this time round. If he was in Su Zimo's position, it would be difficult for him to escape unscathed against such an attack. Right then, a deep growl burst forth from the trench in the depths of the sea. Scram! The moment Su Zimo conjured the spirit turtle shield, he spun around and extended his palm, grabbing the incoming saber behind him. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not be able to detect Tai Han's attack without the help of their five senses and spirit consciousness. However, Su Zimo cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness and had an extremely sharp sense of danger. The cicada senses autumn coming before the wind even starts to blow. The moment Tai Han attacked, Su Zimo had already sensed danger. However, he could not dodge. That was because the timing of Tai Han's attack was way too precise. The moment the Frost Divine Turtle collided with his Spirit Turtle shield, this was his weakest moment. Su Zimo shuddered and did not have time to release any divine powers or secret skills. He could only rely on the power of his body to turn back and grab the saber. At the same time, he recognized Tai Han. Die, Tai Han said coldly. Piak. When the saber struck Su Zimo's palm, the blade sank in for a moment before stopping. The sound of metal clashing could be heard as though it had struck steel. Tai Han's heart skipped a beat. When Su Zimo was at his weakest, his slash could not slice him into two. In fact, Su Zimo's palm could not even be severed. At the same time, the moment their saber and palm collided, Tai Han felt a vibration and a terrifying twisting power coming from the saber. The next moment, the saber condensed from cold chi shattered. Although Tai Han's expression was still cold as ice, he was alarmed internally. Su Zimo was much more troublesome to deal with than he had imagined. At that moment, Tai Han revealed his decisive nature as well. His saber was shattered, and he did not engage Su Zimo at all. Retreating, he disappeared into the dark ocean and fled far away. Su Zimo stood on the spot and took a deep breath without chasing. At that moment, his bloodline was frozen. Although he managed to defend against the impact of the Frost Divine Turtle, his distraction caused a large amount of cold chi to invade his meridians and organs. Su Zimo's body trembled slightly. If he wanted to chase after Tai Han, he would have to release his blood chi. However, that would risk him exposing his Green Lotus True Body, and it would not be worth it. The two of them would definitely meet again later on. At that time, he would settle this debt. The fight between the two of them happened in an instant. Although they had only met for a brief moment, the danger involved was shuddering. It was only then that the cultivators watching in the square heaved a sigh of relief. Suzimo is so strong. While receiving that gigantic divine turtle head-on, he even diverted his attention to take on Tai Han's full-powered attack barehanded. That's right. Although his palm was injured, that small injury is nothing to him. In my opinion, there's a high chance that Suzimo's combat strength can be ranked in the top 10. After a momentary silence, a commotion broke out in the crowd. This time round, even perfected immortal Xieling was shocked. Initially, he had expected that Suzimo would not only be unable to defend against Mercury Ice's attack, but also Tai Han's attack. To think that Suzimo would be able to defend against the impact of the two terrifying powers, Xie Qingqing, Yun Ting, the Academy Elders and the others were relieved as well. The Academy Elders exchanged glances and smiled bitterly. As bystanders, they seemed even more nervous than the participant inside. Deep in the sea, Suzimo did not let the spirit consciousness in Mercury Ice launch a second attack. He went forward and grabbed it, stuffing it into his consciousness. The Hell Suppression tripod descended instantly when it sensed Mercury Ice's aura. Before Mercury Ice could emit any coldness, it was devoured by the Hell Suppression tripod and refined. On the other side of the Hell Suppression tripod, the patterns of the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul shone faintly. In a flash, Suzimo headed towards the teleportation formation above him as well. He took out his badge and took a look. After this change, his ranking had fallen once more, and he was now in the 100,000 region. Before long, Suzimo arrived at the teleportation formation and ascended to level 3 without stopping. After entering level 3, Suzimo felt a murderous aura and the air was filled with a faint blood stench. It was clear that the cultivators who arrived earlier encountered immense obstacles in this space. A robust sound of metal clashing could be heard from midair. Xie Qingqing said, "Level 3 is extremely cruel and most of the Earth Immortals will be eliminated here. There's no trick to clearing it. One can only take everything head-on. This place is filled with the sharpness of blades and danger lurks at every corner. It's extremely treacherous." The cultivators spectating could see everything clearly. Although Fengyin and Tai Hua were at the front, they had become much more cautious in level 3. Many times, the surroundings may seem calm without danger. However, at the next moment, a sword light could appear to pierce a cultivator's glabella. Killing intent could descend at any moment from anywhere in the surroundings, above, by the side, and even below. Chapter 2209, 2209 Full Speed Ahead. 2209 Full Speed Ahead. Fengyin, Tai Hua, and the others are about to ascend to level 4. I wonder if Suzimo can catch up to them. Although Suzimo obtained 2 treasures, he wasted a lot of time and even released many powerful methods in advance. He might be in danger if he's surrounded by the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. Right? A cultivator seemed to have suddenly thought of something and asked in confusion. According to Prince Yuanzhua, they're going to surround and kill Suzimo in the 9 heavens. Why aren't there any signs yet? Up till now in the elimination round of the Earth ranking, other than the test exchange between Tai Han and Suzimo, the other cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect did not make any moves towards Suzimo. The cultivators of the 2 factions were advancing at full speed, as though they had forgotten about this matter. Your Highness, could Prince Yuanzhua have been bluffing to disrupt the situation? Su Xiaotian asked softly. Xie Qingqing shook his head gently. No, since Prince Yuanzhua said it in front of everyone, he will definitely attack. Furthermore, this time round, the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect clearly came prepared and planned for a long time. They won't give up halfway. Su Xiaotian said. However, none of them have shown any signs of attacking up till now. Xie Qingqing pondered for a moment before saying slowly, in order to attack Suzimo, The Earth Immortals of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect have to gather first. Cultivators who enter the 9 heavens are scattered everywhere, and it's not easy to gather them unless they're in a special place. At that point, Xie Qingqing paused for a moment and his eyes lit up. Teleportation formation? Su Xiaotian gradually understood as well. No matter where the cultivators were, they had to head to the teleportation formation eventually. In other words, only a teleportation formation could gather the cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. Which teleportation formation will it be? Su Xiaotian asked again. Nothing. Xie Qingqing shook his head gently. They did not make any moves at the teleportation formations of level 1 and 2. From levels 3 to 5, every single teleportation formation holds an equal probability. On the other side, this time round, Prince Yuanzhua did not say anything when he saw Su Zimo obtain the treasure of level 2. Instead, he smiled. He understood something. The more treasures Su Zimo snatched, the better, because in the end, all of them would belong to him. Furthermore, Su Zimo would have to release many trump cards and expend a large amount of essence chi to snatch the treasures at the front. That would make their plan even smoother. At that thought, Prince Yuanzhua hoped instead that Su Zimo would continue searching for treasures. It would be best if he could obtain all the treasures of levels 3 and 4. 9 heavens. Su Zimo realized that his ranking was a little behind. If he wanted to obtain the treasure in this space, he had to increase his speed as much as possible. At that thought, Su Zimo circulated his dermic art and conjured heavenly feet and boundless golden light behind him. His speed increased exponentially, and he transformed into a golden streak of light, speeding forward. In the square, many cultivators frowned. The elders of the academy were worried as well. This space was metal and focused on killing. It was the most dangerous and filled with ubiquitous killing intent. The greatest taboo was to charge forward brashly at full speed. If there was any sudden danger, he would not be able to react in time against such a high-speed sprint. Before this, if anyone was distracted, they would be sliced into two by a sharp blade that suddenly descended from the skies, let alone advance at full speed. Isn't that speed way too fast? Maintaining this speed in this space is like speeding through the borders of life and death, as though he can charge into the gates of hell at any moment. Many cultivators were secretly speechless. The speed displayed by Su Zimo was almost at the limits of an Earth Immortal. Clang! Just as everyone was discussing, a gigantic saber appeared in front of Su Zimo and slashed towards his figure. Ah! Someone exclaimed. Su Zimo's speed was too fast, and he could only see a golden light flying over. Even if the gigantic blade did not slash over, it would be difficult to avoid it given the immense inertia of the golden light. Swoosh! The saber slashed down and the golden light brushed by without slowing down. It missed? Everyone was surprised. Su Zimo did not seem to dodge and continued advancing at full speed. However, the blade hit nothing. Logically speaking, the killing weapons in this space should not have missed. This scene seemed a little strange to everyone. Only perfected immortal Xieling and some heaven immortal experts present could see what happened earlier. The moment the saber appeared, Su Zimo's figure changed direction slightly. It was imperceptible given his terrifying speed. However, that slight change allowed him to avoid the blade. He did not waste any space or reduce his speed at all. He merely brushed shoulders with the saber and controlled his actions with extreme precision that was shocking. The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy exchanged glances and nodded to themselves. That move alone was enough to kill most Earth Immortals instantly. As for perfected Immortal Xieling, he looked at Su Zimo's figure thoughtfully. He was thinking about something else. The blade was formed almost instantly. Given Su Zimo's speed, it was already too late for him to dodge when he saw the blade. However, that lad avoided it perfectly. It was as though Su Zimo could sense danger beforehand and make changes. Was it just his imagination? Xieling thought to himself. As Su Zimo advanced, the obstacles and killing intent ahead increased. At any moment, There might be sabers and axes blocking his way and sword chi threatening to pierce his body at every corner. Killing weapons were increasing in number and intensity. Each time, Suzimo could avoid the sharpness by a hair's breadth and brush past the killing weapons. Right from the beginning, his speed had not decreased. That's way too terrifying. How did he do it? I've never seen anyone pass through level 3 in such a manner. Right in front of everyone, the figure in level 3 sped through the air and danced continuously. Occasionally, it turned sideways, lowered its head, and made a slight turn. Each time, he could avoid the blade and killing intent. The figure seemed to be dancing on the blades, roaming freely in the killing intent. It was carefree and elegant, giving off a stunning feeling. Suzimo's ranking was rising rapidly. On the other side, Feng Yin, Taihua, and the others had already arrived at the teleportation formation of level 3 and ascended one after another without stopping. He's already very fast. However, he's still far behind after all. It's going to be difficult for him to catch up to Feng Yin and the others. A cultivator analyzed. As though he heard that, a pair of wings appeared behind the figure in the 9 heavens, and his speed increased once more. Chapter 2210, 2210 Metal Cyclone. 2210 Metal Cyclone. Look, Suzimo's speed has increased again. Indeed, he's so fast that his figure can no longer be seen clearly. The crowd exclaimed. Right then, another pair of wings grew on Suzimo's back, carrying endless wind and thunder. His speed increased exponentially and reached its limits like lightning. Everyone exclaimed. Suzimo was so fast that no one could catch up to him for a moment. His speed is probably comparable to ordinary heaven immortals. A heaven immortal was shocked. What truly shocked everyone was that Suzimo could still avoid danger and advance despite his speed. Towards the end, the killing weapons condensed became more concentrated. In fact, many sword nets and saber mountains appeared in front of Suzimo. However, Suzimo advanced with his spirit perception. The moment danger appeared, he changed his trajectory in advance. Right in front of everyone, a strange scene formed. It was as though the killing power of level 3 would always be a step slower and could not injure Suzimo at all. Unlike everyone's shock, the worry in Xie Qingqing's eyes intensified. If Suzimo did not release those powerful movement techniques and secret skills in advance, he might be able to escape far away if he encountered any danger later on. But now, he had to release those 4 divine powers and secret skills in succession in order to get to level 4. The price was way too great. 50,000, 10,000, 3,000. By the time Suzimo arrived at level 3's teleportation formation, he was already in the top 500. Standing on the teleportation formation, Suzimo did not ascend immediately. Instead, he surveyed his surroundings with a glint in his eyes, as though he was searching for something. When he saw that, Xialing's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. He could accept losing the Mars stone. Although he complained internally about losing a piece of mercury ice, he could still endure it. But now, from the looks of it, Suzimo was bent on getting his hands on the treasure of level 3 as well. Xialing grit his teeth and remained silent. The losses this time round were way too great. The location of the treasure in level 3 was not as secluded as level 1 and 2. Beside the teleportation formation, there was a killing intense storm that connected the heavens and the earth. Like a gigantic dragon, it howled continuously and released streams of killing intent. The killing intent burst forth and covered the skies. Some of them formed dense arrows that rained down. Some of them formed sharp sword chi along the way to stop intruders. The treasure was in the middle of the metal cyclone and was a Venus stone. The Venus stone was a meteor that fell from Venus. The power of metal within was extremely pure and was an excellent material for forging weapons and dermic treasures. The cyclone was way too striking and could be seen instantly without even searching. Indeed, Suzimo stood on the teleportation formation and looked around. Instantly, he saw the cyclone and in a flash, closed into it. Clang! Clang, clang. Before Suzimo could come into contact with the Cyclone, the metallic killing intent released by the Cyclone was already colliding against the Green Lotus true body repeatedly with the sound of jade clashing. Suzimo frowned slightly. As expected of this space that focused on killing, it was extremely lethal. Before he even made contact with the Cyclone, the Green Lotus true body already felt waves of pain. However, the more that was the case, the more he could not give up. The remaining wall of the Hell Suppression tripod had yet to be repaired. According to his deduction, the patterns on the tripod should be one of the 4 sacred beings, the White Tiger's sacred soul. The White Tiger resided in the west and focused on killing. If he could let the Hell Suppression tripod devour the treasure in this space, the 4th tripod wall would definitely be repaired. He did not know what would happen if the Hell Suppression tripod was completely repaired. However, Suzimo was certain that the Prajna Nirvana Sutra could be revealed completely. If the power of those treasures was enough, the 4 sacred souls might awaken. As he pondered, he was already getting closer to the metal cyclone. Towards the end, his speed decreased as well. His body was already torn by the cyclone and shallow wounds appeared. The regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus true body were shocking, and his wounds healed the moment they appeared without any blood splattering. However, if he continued forward, his Green Lotus true body would be injured. Even the Green Lotus true body might not be able to withstand it if he entered the center of the cyclone. Suzimo glared at the metal cyclone not far away, and his gaze intensified. He channeled his essence spirit and conjured sword arts with both hands. SK, SK, TSK, Heaven-Slaying Sword Chi, Condense. Suzimo's 2-handed sword art gathered tens of thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi that interweaved continuously. Under the control of his spirit consciousness, the endless heaven-slaying sword chi gathered in his palm and formed a sharp heaven-slaying sword. The sharpness of a single heaven-slaying sword chi was extremely terrifying. The sword formed by the tens of thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi pushed the killing power to its limits. There were no changes to the firmaments of the 9 heavens. However, in the skies above the yin-yang immortal kingdom under the scorching sun, countless stars appeared with chaotic trajectories. Some stars even fell from midair. When the heavens' killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. The condensation of the heaven-slaying sword caused a change that shook the world. Pest! What immortal art is that? How terrifying! The power of that sword art reminds me of an ancient saying in the legends of the upper world. When the heavens' killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. Many cultivators turned towards Yun Ting instinctively. Some cultivators recalled the evaluation of Suzimo on the Earth ranking prediction. There was indeed a record of the heaven-slaying sword chi. However, no one expected the might of the heaven-slaying sword chi to be so terrifying. 9 heavens. The moment the heaven-slaying sword was formed, the metal cyclone not far away paused for a moment. The heaven-slaying sword chi and metal cyclone were releasing killing intent wildly. The collision of the 2 killing powers seemed like it could tear everything apart. Suzimo growled and leaped up. Gripping the heaven-slaying sword in reverse with both hands, he descended from the skies and stabbed towards the metal cyclone not far away. Boom! The heaven-slaying sword collided against the metal cyclone and let out a deafening bang. At that moment, the massive cyclone that connected heaven and earth showed signs of stopping and dissipating, revealing a flaw. Suzimo's eyes lit up. He did not let go of this fleeting opportunity and charged into the cyclone, grabbing a stone within. He had obtained the Venus stone. Although he had the heaven-slaying sword and the metal cyclone paused for a brief moment, its power still remained. The Green Lotus true body was riddled with holes in an extremely tragic state. Suzimo endured the immense pain and tossed the Venus stone into his consciousness. As the Hell Suppression tripod descended and devoured the Venus stone, the scar on its 4th wall reacted and began to quiver. Chapter 2211, 2211 Human-Eating Flower. 2211 Human-eating flower. The price is too great. When he saw that, apart from admiration, Xie Qingcheng could not help but lament. The Mars stone, Mercury ice, and Venus stone were all priceless treasures. It was definitely a huge opportunity and gain to be able to obtain 3 treasures. However, it was also because of this that Su Zimo released too many trump cards. Those methods had a relatively long recovery time. If he continued forward, it would be difficult for him to release them again on the Earth ranking. This was extremely disadvantageous for Su Zimo's future. Furthermore, Su Zimo was severely injured by the metal cyclone and was covered in injuries. It would take a lot of mental and essence chi to heal his injuries. It might take a long time, and all of that would have a huge impact on him. The expressions of the elders of Heaven and Earth Academy turned grimmer as well. In their opinion, if they could remind Su Zimo, the best decision right now was to stop advancing and stop while he was ahead. The Mars stone, Mercury ice, and Venus stone alone were unimaginable gains. Xie Qingcheng and the Academy elders' worries were not unfounded. However, they did not know that Su Zimo was the Green Lotus true body, and his regeneration capabilities were extremely shocking to begin with. Right now, although he was only an Earth immortal, his essence spirit was at the Heaven immortal realm. Coupled with the fact that he was the Green Lotus true body, he could completely undergo blood rebirth, and his regeneration capabilities were even more terrifying than Heaven immortals. Although the injuries caused by the metal cyclone looked terrifying, they were only superficial wounds for him and had almost no effect. He would recover to his original state before long. As for Su Zimo's trump cards, he did not care even if he released them in advance. The Green Lotus true body had too many methods and trump cards. What he revealed was only a part of them. 9 heavens. After Su Zimo sent the Venus stone into his consciousness and it was devoured by the hell suppression tripod, the gigantic metal cyclone outside dissipated. Standing on the spot, Su Zimo took a breather and looked at the ranking. He did not waste much time this time round, and his ranking was still at 500. If nothing went wrong in level 4, he would definitely be able to rank in the top 100. For him, it was fine as long as he could make it into the top 100 of the elimination round of the 9 heavens. As for the final ranking, a ranking battle was required. Su Zimo rested for a while, and the wounds on his body gradually healed. They stopped bleeding and healed at an astonishing speed. Thereafter, he arrived at the teleportation formation and ascended to level 4. After reaching level 4, Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness and looked over. Compared to the previous 3 levels, level 4 looked much more normal and was extremely similar to the outside world. Mountain ranges stood tall, and green water surrounded them. The vegetation was sumptuous and lush. In this space, one could sense a rich heaven and earth essence chi. It was filled with vitality, birdsong, fragrance, and was peaceful. Su Zimo did not advance rashly. Since it was the elimination round of the 9 heavens, cultivators would definitely not be able to pass it easily. He surveyed his surroundings, and his gaze landed on a cultivator. Coincidentally, this person was from Heaven and Earth Academy, and his name was Lu Ping. Lu Ping was ranked last in the outer sect competition and was not ranked on the Earth ranking prediction this time round. Although he did not say anything, he was indignant and wanted to make use of this opportunity to prove himself. Lu Ping advanced carefully with a calm expression. Suddenly, the grass beneath his feet grew wildly without warning and coiled around his legs, extending down his lower body as though it wanted to bind his entire body. The edges of the long grass were extremely sharp and serrated. The moment it coiled around him, wounds appeared on Lu Ping's body and fresh blood flowed. Go. Lu Ping was rather calm and did not panic. He channeled his spirit consciousness and released some sort of immortal art immediately. His hands transformed into 2 swords that slashed at the grass on his body. At the same time, he consumed an elixir pill swiftly, and the blood on his wounds gradually stopped flowing. Although the grass was still growing wildly, he could protect them temporarily with the help of his immortal art. Lu Ping channeled his blood chi and hollered once more. Piak, piak. A crisp sound came from his legs and the wild grass was snapped by him instantly. However, the surrounding grass seemed to have sensed something and extended over. Countless grass and vines filled with thorns. Although Lu Ping resisted continuously, the vegetation here was endless. In that short period of time, he had only taken a few steps when he sank deeper and deeper. Suddenly, sensing danger, Lu Ping dodged to the side hurriedly. However, he was entangled by many plants and his movements were sluggish. As such, his body merely shifted slightly. Behind him, a gigantic mouth descended from the skies and bit his shoulder, ripping it apart. Shing! Blood gushed out. Lu Ping's arm was torn off by that huge mouth in a tragic manner. If he had dodged slower, his head would have been bitten off. Ah! Lu Ping cried out in pain and turned back instinctively. He could not help but turn pale with fright. The bloody mouth that bit off his arm did not come from any demon beast. Instead, it was a seemingly ordinary flower beside him. But now, the middle of the flower changed continuously, turning into a mouth filled with fangs that chewed his arm as blood spurted everywhere. This seemingly beautiful flower ate human flesh. Suddenly, Lu Ping realized that everything around him was filled with endless killing intent that could take his life. More and more vines coiled around him, and the vegetation grew wildly. The human-eating flower devoured his broken arm in a few moments and bit towards him once more. Just as Lu Ping was about to struggle and retreat, he smelled a strange fragrance. Immediately, he felt his head spin and his limbs went limp. This is bad. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. This is where I die. The fragrance was also emitted by the flower and could clearly affect the movements of cultivators. If Lu Ping was in his peak condition, he would definitely be able to notice something unusual and neutralize the fragrance with a surge of his blood chi. But now that he was here, he had already used many immortal arts and divine powers. His essence chi was expended, and his essence spirit was a little weak. Under such circumstances, this human-eating flower could take his life. Lu Ping's expression was filled with despair as he watched the bloodied mouth descend from the skies and chomp down viciously. However, he could not muster any strength at all. Just as Lu Ping was about to give up, a strange change happened in his surroundings. The mouth of the flower paused above his head. Although it was extremely close to him, it did not bite down. Right on the heels of that, as though it was shocked, the flower retracted in a strange manner and reverted to its tender and beautiful form, swaying gently in an extremely obedient manner. Chapter 22:12, 22:12 Subdued Flora. 22:12 Subdued Flora. Lu Ping was stunned. He looked at the flower in a daze and could not snap out of his stupor. For a moment, he thought that he was hallucinating. However, before long, the vegetation and vines that coiled around him retreated rapidly and returned to normal. The surroundings became peaceful once more. All of a sudden, the frenzied plants from earlier on were no longer aggressive. "Senior Brother Lu, are you all right?" Right then, a voice sounded behind him. Immediately after, someone helped him up. Lu Ping turned back. "Junior Brother Su?" It was his fellow sect mate from the academy, Su Zimo. "Junior Brother Su, you've ascended to level 4 as well?" Lu Ping was slightly surprised. "Although your cultivation realm is slightly inferior, you're not much slower than me in terms of speed. I've truly underestimated you." Su Zimo smiled without saying anything. As though he suddenly thought of something, Lu Ping said hurriedly, "Junior Brother Su, watch out. The surrounding vegetation is extremely aggressive. My arm was snapped by that flower." Lu Ping pointed to his broken arm that had yet to recover and looked at the beautiful flower not far away, saying with lingering fear. Su Zimo nodded. When Lu Ping saw Su Zimo's nonchalant and indifferent expression, he explained, "Junior Brother Su, don't be blinded by the appearance of that flower. That flower looks normal right now. However, it truly transformed into a gigantic mouth earlier on with sharp fangs that were even more terrifying than any ferocious beast." As Lu Ping said that, He channeled his essence spirit, and his severed arm regrew slowly. You are right, Senior Brother Liu. We should proceed with caution. Su Zimo agreed. Lu Ping said deeply, since the two of us can meet here, it's a rare opportunity. We can join forces and attempt to clear level 4. All right. Su Zimo did not explain further. In any case, he was going to advance himself, and it was fine even if he brought someone with him. Junior Brother Su, your cultivation realm is lower. You can cover the back while I take the lead to pave the way. Lu Ping said in a deep voice, if I can't hold on, you can hold out for a while at the front. Sure. Su Zimo did not decline either. Senior Brother Liu, let's hurry and catch up to the other. Lu Ping took a deep breath of air and released his spirit consciousness, heading forward warily. Su Zimo followed behind. Strangely enough, after the two of them walked for a while, the surrounding vegetation did not move or attack them at all. It was as though everything that Lu Ping experienced earlier on was his imagination. Junior Brother Su, did anything happen behind you? Lu Ping asked as he surveyed his surroundings. Everything is normal. Su Zimo held the badge in his hands and looked at their rankings continuously. Although the two of them did not encounter any obstacles along the way, Lu Ping was already like a startled bird and did not advance at a fast speed. Although their rankings were rising continuously, their speed was also slow. Su Zimo gradually revealed a hint of impatience. Junior Brother Su, you must buck up and not be distracted. When Lu Ping heard Su Zimo's distracted tone, he reminded again, although everything around us seems normal, danger can appear at any moment. The calmer it is, the more likely it is that there is an unimaginable storm. Su Zimo could not help but say, Senior Brother Liu, let me take the lead. Come and cover the back so that you can take a break as well. Lu Ping pondered for a moment and said, all right, you'll take the lead for a while. If we encounter any danger, we'll change positions immediately. Senior Brother Liu, just follow me. Su Zimo said and arrived before Lu Ping in a flash, striding forward. Hey, hey! Lu Ping was shocked and shouted hurriedly, Junior Brother Su, you're running too fast. Be careful. Watch out for that flower. Watch out for that vine. Su Zimo turned a deaf ear and continued sprinting forward. Lu Ping was scared out of his wits and wanted to abandon Su Zimo. However, he felt uneasy and could only chase after Su Zimo while shouting from behind. Su Zimo's speed increased. In the end, Lu Ping could only use his full strength to barely keep up with Su Zimo's speed and no longer had the strength to shout. The strange thing was that the two of them did not encounter any attacks along the way, and the surrounding vegetation became incomparably quiet. In fact, Lu Ping witnessed a rather strange scene. Initially, a dense patch of grass blocked in front of Su Zimo. Su Zimo had no intention of dodging and charged over. The dense grass actually dodged to both sides, opening up a path for Su Zimo to advance smoothly. Strange? Lu Ping looked at Su Zimo's back view and frowned slightly. What excited him was that their rankings were rising rapidly. 400, 300, 200. This also meant that the other cultivators did not have it as smoothly as the two of them in level 4. In the square, many cultivators looked at the green-robed cultivator in the 9 heavens with agape mouths. Through the observation of the first 3 levels, everyone had some understanding of Su Zimo's methods and were psychologically prepared. However, no one expected level 4 to be so simple for Su Zimo. Level 4 was the Flora world. All the plants in this space were sentient. A portion of the plants did not have any offensive capabilities and could merely entangle and restrain cultivators, harassing them continuously and delaying them. Of course, there were also many plants within that possessed extremely terrifying offensive and lethality. The flower that Lu Ping encountered was only one of the most ordinary ones. Along the way, the two of them passed by countless terrifying offensive plants. However, none of them attacked the two of them. In other places in this space, the same vegetation had already killed many cultivators. However, for some reason, the plants suddenly became quiet and obedient in front of Su Zimo. It was clear for the bystanders. Everyone could tell that this was definitely not Lu Ping's ability. When he first entered level 4, Lu Ping was almost devoured by a flower. The reason why the flower suddenly retreated was because of Su Zimo's appearance. Su Zimo sure is something. This person passed through level 1 with a flame immortal art and level 2 with heavenly perfected water. Even at level 3, he released many movement techniques and secret skills. Although it was spectacular, he did not have it easy. However, at level 4, everyone could clearly see that Su Zimo did not release any divine powers or secret skills in level 4 and continued forward smoothly. I reckon that this person must have cultivated some cultivation technique or secret skill related to Flora and obtained the recognition of this Flora world. That's why they did not attack him. Some people speculated. However, perfected immortal Xialing frowned in confusion. In his opinion, it did not seem as though Su Zimo had gained the recognition of the plants. Instead, it was as though the plants revered him. Chapter 22:13, 22:13 Ranking Superiority. 22:13 Ranking Superiority. By this point of the elimination round in the 9 heavens, there were not many cultivators who were truly qualified to be ranked on the Earth ranking. Right now, the number 1 of the ranking, the reincarnated Immortal Feng Yin, had already reached level 5. Immortal Tai Hua of Flying Immortal Sect followed closely behind and did not fall far behind. There was not much danger in level 5, and it was much calmer. However, the space of level 5 had an extremely terrifying gravity restriction. Even if a grade 9 Earth Immortal used immortal arts and divine powers in this space, he could not jump too high, let alone fly in the air. Peerless monster incarnates like Feng Yin and Tai Hua could naturally fly through the air for a short period of time. However, that would consume too much essence chi, and it was not worth it. Therefore, even when the 2 of them ascended to this place, they chose to travel on foot and sped towards the Earth ranking stele. Although it was only an elimination round, it could indeed reflect the methods of the 2 reincarnated immortals. Although the difference between the 2 of them was not great, they were far ahead of everyone else. By the time the 2 of them arrived at the Earth ranking stele, the 3rd place had yet to ascend to level 5. When he saw that, perfected immortal Xialing nodded slightly and said, "Seems like there's not much deviation in the prediction of the Earth ranking this time round. The 1st and 2nd place of the elimination round have already been determined. Fellow Taoists Green Peak and White Sea, congratulations in advance." Xialing looked at Heaven Immortal Green Peak and Heaven Immortal White Sea with a smile and raised his glass from afar. The 2 Heaven Immortals returned the greeting hurriedly. Heaven Immortal Green Peak said, "Before Immortal Feng Yin reincarnated, he was my senior brother. He is merely participating in this Earth ranking casually this time round without any pressure." Although Heaven Immortal Green Peak sounded nonchalant, there was a hint of pride in his tone. Heaven Immortal White Sea smiled as well. If not for something else, Immortal Tai Hua wouldn't have appeared to take part in the fight for the Earth ranking this time round as well. Su Xiaotian asked softly as he listened to the discussions of the important figures at the table. "Your Highness, the ranking of the elimination round is only temporary. What's the use of being number 1 or 2? Isn't there still a ranking battle after the elimination round?" "It's very useful." Xie Qingsheng smiled and explained, "After the ranking of the top 100 Earth Immortals of the elimination round is over, the ranking battle will be held immediately without any gaps." Su Xiaotian blinked in confusion. Xie Qingsheng continued, "This means that the earlier one reaches level 5 and the higher their ranking in the elimination round, the longer they will be able to rest and recover." "Ah." Su Xiaotian reacted and came to a realization. In other words, Feng Yin, Tai Hua, and the others can rest immediately after arriving and recover their essence chi. Those that are ranked lower and arrive later will have less time to rest. It will definitely affect their ranking battle later on. "That's right." Xie Qingsheng nodded and said, "That's not the only advantage of being ranked at the top of the elimination round. There are other advantages." Su Xiaotian was surprised. In his opinion, that fact alone was enough for the cultivators at the front to gain the upper hand in the ranking battle. "The ranking battle is conducted in pairs," Xie Qingsheng said. The first will be up against the 100th place, the second will be against the 99th place, and so on. The benefit of this rule is that it can prevent two peerless paragons from meeting beforehand and resulting in an overly intense fight that results in another paragon being eliminated. That was not hard to understand. For Feng Yin and Tai Hua, if they met in the first round of the ranking battle, one of them would definitely be eliminated. It was way too unfair for the Earth ranking. Su Xiaotian was secretly speechless. In other words, the lower the ranking of the elimination round, the stronger the opponents they will encounter in the ranking battle. That's right. Xie Qingqing nodded and said, if you're ranked 100th or 99th in the elimination round, you can choose to admit defeat against Feng Yin and Tai Hua in the ranking battle. Su Xiaotian said, it's no wonder why everyone wants to reach the Earth ranking steal as soon as possible and be ranked higher in the elimination rounds. So, there's such a huge difference in the order of ranking. Right then, Feng Yin stood in front of the Earth ranking steal and hesitated for a moment before soaring into the air. The steal was 100 feet tall. For many Earth immortals, they could reach a height of 100 feet in a single leap even without using immortal arts. However, in level 5, there was a gravity field. The higher one soared, the greater the gravity restriction. In the end, it could be augmented by hundreds or even 1,000 times of gravity. For Earth immortals, a height of 100 feet was almost impossible. Everyone in the square watched as Feng Yin flew through the air at an increasingly slower speed. 60 feet, 70 feet, 80 feet. Feng Yin had already arrived at the height of the steal at 80 feet, but he did not leave his name. Right then, Tai Hua arrived before the steal as well. He looked at the seal above his head and his eyes flashed. He channeled his spirit consciousness and circulated an immortal art, soaring into the air as well. Strange? Su Xiaotian murmured softly. Isn't it enough to just carve your name on the Earth ranking steal? Why are they flying so high? His heart skipped a beat as though he thought of something. Your Highness, could it be that the higher your name is on the steal, the more useful it will be for the ranking battle? You're thinking too much? Xie Qingqing smiled. Even many women in the square paled in comparison. Pausing for a moment, he said, however, supreme monster incarnates like Feng Yin and Tai Hua are innately prideful. Since they want to leave their names on the steal, they will definitely not bow down to others. There is naturally no way the two of them would allow others to casually leave names above theirs on the steal. The words etched on the steal were the personal symbols of everyone. As reincarnated immortals, since Feng Yin and Tai Hua wanted to leave their names, they had to ascend to the peak and look down on other cultivators from above. Xie Qingqing looked at the two figures that were ascending slowly in front of the steal and said, in every elimination round of the 9 heavens, some paragons and monster incarnates will compete in secret here to determine the victor. Typically, ascending to a height of 80 feet is already the limit. However, judging from Feng Yin and Tai Hua's methods, they're probably stronger than 80 feet. By the time Feng Yin reached the height of 80 feet, his speed was already getting slower. However, he did not stop and channeled his blood qi to its limits. The sound of a tsunami echoed from his body as he continued soaring through the air. A moment later, he finally reached a height of 90 feet. Feng Yin lowered his head slightly and glanced at Tai Hua, who was closing in rapidly beneath him. If he gave it his all, he could naturally rise a little more. However, that would expose him too much and consume too much energy. There was no need for that. He believed that Tai Hua would not give it his all to continue rising just for a moment of pride either. At that thought, Feng Yin left his name on the steal at 90 feet. Chapter 2214, 2214 Change, 2214 Change. Feng Yin did not leave after leaving his name at a height of 90 feet. Before long, Tai Hua ascended as well, and his blood qi surged with a tsunami. Indeed. He glanced at Feng Yin beside him and did not continue ascending. He carved his name at a height of 90 feet as well. If he continued ascending, the gravity he would have to endure would be unimaginable and it would not be worth it. The true fight between the two of them was the final ranking battle. At a height of 90 feet at the steal, The two of them exchanged glances and sparks flew. Both could see the fighting spirit in the other's eyes. In the hearts of the two reincarnated immortals, only the other party was worthy of being their opponent for the Earth ranking this time round. These two fellow Taoists are truly interesting. Perfected immortal Xieling smiled and said, leaving their names at 90 feet on the steel should be a record. As far as I know, it's unprecedented and will most likely not be surpassed in the future as well. Many cultivators of Flying Immortal Sect and Imperial Wind Temple raised their heads slightly and felt proud. Feng Yin and Tai Hua stood side by side on the earth ranking steel like two perfected immortals. They shone incomparably and ascended to the peak, looking down at the world in an untouchable manner. It's only 90 feet. What's there to be cocky about? Yun Ting looked at the faces of the cultivators from Flying Immortal Sect and Imperial Wind Sect and sneered. Unfortunately, even you, Yun Ting, are only good at talking. You no longer have the chance to take part. Heaven Immortal Green Peak said indifferently. Yun Ting snorted coldly and did not reply. Feng Yin and Tai Hua descended and rested not far away. Before long, Yu Feng of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect arrived before the steel. Yu Feng was also ranked third on the Earth ranking prediction. The prediction of the Earth ranking had an extremely high evaluation of him. According to the compiler, if not for the two reincarnated immortals, Yu Feng would have been the top of the Earth ranking this time round. Yu Feng stood in front of the steel and raised his head slightly, looking at the two Dao titles at the highest point with a hesitant expression. After a moment of silence, he pursed his lips and did not choose to soar into the air to try and surpass the two of them. He stood on the spot with his feet on the ground and left his name on the steel. Thereafter, he came to the other side and assumed a lotus position. He consumed an elixir pill and began to recover his essence chi and stamina. When he saw that, Xieling praised, "This disciple of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect is not bad. He has a calm personality and did not expend his essence chi or stamina rashly to fight for a needless position. His future is promising." Heaven Abyss of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect nodded slightly in admiration as well. In his opinion, rather than expend his essence chi and stamina on competing for the height of the steel, he might as well accumulate momentum and explode in the final ranking battle. Right then, Tai Han, who was ranked fourth, had already ascended and strode towards the steel. It was no wonder why Tai Han was the great commander of the Earth Execution Guards. Although he was delayed in level 2, he still surpassed everyone and became the fourth person to arrive before the Earth ranking steel. Tai Han raised his head and looked at the two names that were 90 feet tall. He did not choose to soar into the air. Instead, he carved his name below. With Feng Yin and Tai Hua's Dao titles at 90 feet, looking down at everyone, the other cultivators did not have any desire to fight for supremacy. Strange? Suddenly, Su Xiaotian whispered, "Your Highness, aren't the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect joining forces to kill Mr. Su? Why aren't they doing anything?" Xie Qingcheng frowned. He had been considering this question ever since the elimination round began. That was also his confusion at the moment. Could Prince Yuanzhua truly be bluffing? Xie Qingqing glanced sideways at Prince Yuanzhua, who was not far away. At that moment, Prince Yuanzhua had a relaxed expression. There was no hint of anxiousness, as though everything before him was within his expectations. After Tai Han etched his name, he exchanged glances with Tai Hua and nodded slightly before heading to the other side. Xie Qingqing's heart skipped a beat as he said, "I got it. They're going to attack here." "In front of the Earth ranking steel?" Su Xiaotian asked. Xie Qingqing nodded and said, "Apart from a few teleportation formations, there's also this Earth ranking steel that can gather cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. However, cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect are not the only ones who can gather before the Earth ranking steel. Earth Immortals of Heaven and Earth Academy can also gather here." Su Xiaotian frowned. At that time, the other disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy will definitely not watch Mr. Su be surrounded. Could it be? Suddenly, Xia Qingqing thought of a terrifying guess, and his expression changed slightly in shock. Right then, the fifth cultivator who arrived at the Earth ranking stele had already appeared. Princess Scarlet Rainbow. As Xia Qingqing had expected, Princess Scarlet Rainbow's movement technique gave her a considerable advantage in the elimination round of the 9 heavens. Her combat strength could not be ranked in the top 5. However, she was the 5th to arrive in the elimination round of the 9 heavens and had surpassed many cultivators on the prediction ranking. The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy exchanged glances and nodded to themselves in satisfaction. When Princess Scarlet Rainbow arrived before the Earth ranking stele, she glanced at Feng Yin, Taihua, and the other 2 who were resting with their eyes closed. She then looked at the 4 names on the stele and pouted her lips slightly. She was unlike Yufeng and Taihan. She was indignant and wanted to give it a shot. Soaring into the air, she flew higher and higher, releasing many immortal arts and divine powers in succession. However, by the time she reached the height of 70 feet, she was already exhausted and could no longer soar into the air. She had no choice but to carve her name on this spot. Princess Scarlet Rainbow's figure descended slowly. As though he sensed something, Xia Qingqing leaned forward slightly and glared at the 9 heavens with a nervous expression. Just as Princess Scarlet Rainbow was about to land on the ground, a change happened. Immortal Taihua and Taihan, who were initially resting with their eyes closed on both sides of the stele, suddenly opened their eyes. The 2 of them moved and attacked at the same time, charging towards Princess Scarlet Rainbow. This change happened without any warning. Princess Scarlet Rainbow had just carved her name at a height of 70 feet and was completely exhausted. Coupled with the fact that she was caught off guard and was now surrounded by 2 supreme monster incarnates, Immortal Taihua and Taihan, she could not defend against them at all. She could not even defeat either of them alone. Now that the 2 experts had joined forces and everything happened so suddenly while she was exhausted, she did not even have the chance to escape. Although she was fast, she was restricted by gravity in the level 5 space and was greatly affected. The attacks of Immortal Taihua and Taihan were like thunder and arrived instantly. Even the spectators were stunned on the spot and could not react for a moment, let alone Princess Scarlet Rainbow, who was directly involved. Bang! Bang! Both parties merely exchanged a single round of blows. The moment Princess Scarlet Rainbow's figure descended, she was restrained by Immortal Taihua. It was too fast. In the blink of an eye, Princess Scarlet Rainbow was captured. Immortal Taihua's spirit consciousness moved, and he circulated an immortal art, releasing a seal that imprinted itself on Princess Scarlet Rainbow. Princess Scarlet Rainbow's body, essence chi, and essence spirit were sealed, and she could not move at all. Chapter 2215, 2215 Lesson, 2215 Lesson. When he saw that, Xia Qingqing sighed internally. Indeed, what he was worried about earlier on happened. When he realized that the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect were going to attack at the Earth ranking stele, he could vaguely guess that there was a high chance the cultivators of Heaven and Earth Academy would be targeted. What are the Great Gene Immortal Sect and Flying Immortal Sect trying to do? Elder Zhong of Heaven and Earth Academy questioned loudly with a changed expression. The other elders looked in the direction of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect with furious gazes. Perfected Immortal Xieling frowned slightly and asked, Yuan Zhua, White Sea, what's the meaning of this? Apart from being a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy, Princess Scarlet Rainbow was also a princess of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom. It was impossible for Xieling to be indifferent when he saw that. Prince Yuanzhua stood up and bowed slightly to Xieling with a smile. Don't worry, Your Highness. Taihan and Taihua know their limits and will definitely not hurt Princess Scarlet Rainbow. Xieling's expression softened. Prince Yuanzhua continued. Not only that, Taihan and Taihua even waited for Princess Scarlet Rainbow to carve her name on the Earth ranking stele before attacking her. We are merely sealing Princess Scarlet Rainbow temporarily so that she can watch a good show from the side. Heaven Immortal White Sea waved his folding fan gently and said leisurely with a smile. What's the meaning of this? Elder he of Heaven and Earth Academy opposite glared and shouted. It's nothing. Prince Yuanzhua shrugged his shoulders slightly and said casually, I just want the disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy to behave themselves later unless they get injured. At that point, the elders of the Academy understood as well. The actions of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect were to restrain the other disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy first, lest they helped Su Zimo later on. Initially, everyone thought that Su Zimo was the only one targeted by the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect's plan. However, they did not expect that these two factions were going to target Heaven and Earth Academy as a whole. Elder Zhong's expression was terrible as he said coldly, Does that mean that from the beginning, your two factions were prepared to join forces to deal with Heaven and Earth Academy? In the previous Earth rankings, although there were also fights between cultivators of the major factions, it would not turn into a fight between factions. At the very least, the 3 immortal kingdoms and 4 immortal sects would definitely not fall out. To think that the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect would join forces to openly attack cultivators of Heaven and Earth Academy for the sake of an Earth Immortal at this 10,000-year meet. Since Heaven and Earth Academy wants to protect the sinner hunted down by the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom, you have to endure this. Apart from Princess Scarlet Rainbow, no one else from Heaven and Earth Academy will have a chance to leave their names on the Earth ranking this time round. Prince Yuanzhua did not hide anything and admitted it directly. He sneered with a mocking expression. This fight for the Earth ranking can be considered as a small lesson for Heaven and Earth Academy. Sure. Elder he was so angry that he laughed instead. Since your two factions are shameless, don't blame our academy for not showing mercy in the future. Heaven and Earth Academy will definitely not let this matter rest. The next 10,000-year meet would be held at Heaven and Earth Academy. As the host, Heaven and Earth Academy naturally had many ways to take revenge on the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. As though he could read Elder He's mind, Prince Yuanzhua smiled and said, It's fine. At most, we'll just send a few people from the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom to the next 10,000-year meet so that Heaven and Earth Academy can take revenge. Elder he was enraged, but there was nothing he could do. Since they planned this and were prepared to attack Heaven and Earth Academy, they naturally took into account the consequences and had long thought of a countermeasure. Heaven Immortal White Sea looked at the elders of Heaven and Earth Academy and smiled leisurely. Fellow Taoists, don't worry. Taihua, Taihan, and the others know their limits. Apart from Su Zimo, they won't harm the lives of the other disciples of the Academy. Elder Zhong had a furious expression as he clenched his fists and glared at Prince Yuanzhua and Heaven Immortal White Sea coldly. Although the elders of the Academy were enraged, they could not do anything and could only let the situation develop. Interesting. Heaven Immortal Green Peak of Imperial Wind Temple clapped and smiled. Actually, elders, there's no need to get angry. From another perspective, this matter might be a form of protection for these disciples of the Academy. Think about it. If these disciples of the Academy are not sealed, they will fight later on and both parties will fight to the death. How many disciples of the Academy can survive with a reincarnated immortal like Taihua around? Heaven Immortal Green Peak was merely watching the show and fanning the flames. Ha 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 ha. Yun Ting burst into laughter and looked askance at Heaven Immortal Green Peak. I've truly witnessed it. This is the first time I've heard someone making falsehood sound so good. Heaven Immortal Green Peak chuckled. 9 heavens. What are you guys doing? Princess Scarlet Rainbow was restrained and frowned. She glared at Immortal Taihua and Taihan and hollered with a furious expression. Immortal Taihua had a haughty expression and ignored Princess Scarlet Rainbow. He walked to the side of the steel and continued resting with his eyes closed. Princess, we'll have to trouble you, Taihan said indifferently. He supported Princess Scarlet Rainbow and placed her beside the steel in a crusty posture. Throughout the entire process, Princess Scarlet Rainbow could not move and could only let Taihan manipulate her. Bastard, let go of me. How dare you touch me? This is the yin-yang immortal kingdom. Bastard. Princess Scarlet Rainbow could not move at all and could only curse to vent the anger in her heart. How noisy. Immortal Tai Hua frowned slightly and flicked his finger gently. His essence chi rapidly formed a rune in midair that landed on Princess Scarlet Rainbow's face. Ooh, ooh, ooh. When Princess Scarlet Rainbow realized that she could not speak, her face flushed red and she was even angrier. However, she struggled for a moment but could not break through the seal planted by Immortal Tai Hua. She could only pant slightly and glare at Tai Hua and Tai Han, who were not far away, wanting nothing more than to kill them with her gaze. Not far away, Feng Yin did not open his eyes the entire time, as though he was indifferent to this matter. Yu Feng of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect watched coldly from the sidelines in deep thought. He vaguely guessed something but did not say anything. This matter had nothing to do with him or Mountain Sea Immortal Sect. There was no need for him to bother. He only had a single goal this time round, to get to the top of the Earth ranking as soon as possible. Before long, the sixth cultivator to arrive at the Earth ranking stele appeared. He was also from Flying Immortal Sect, and his Dao title was Qing Chunzi. He had a handsome face and his white robes fluttered in the wind, looking extraordinary. If not for the appearance of Immortal Tai Hua, Qing Chunzi would have been the #1 Earth Immortal of Flying Immortal Sect. Qing Chunzi arrived and etched his name on the stele. He was not surprised at all when he saw the restrained Princess Scarlet Rainbow and bowed slightly to Immortal Tai Hua before sitting down to rest. The seventh person to arrive on the stele was from the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom, Seayun. Back in the fight between the younger generation of the royal family of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom, Princess Scarlet Rainbow was defeated by Seayun. In the Earth ranking prediction, Seayun was also ranked in the top 10. Chapter 2216, 2216 Forced into a Corner. 2216 Forced into a Corner. Arriving before the Earth ranking stele, Seayun looked at Princess Scarlet Rainbow, who was sitting in a lotus position not far away after leaving his name on it. I've defeated you before. In the elimination round of the 9 heavens, you beat me once. Seems like we can only compete in the ranking battle. Ooh, ooh. Princess Scarlet Rainbow's eyes widened and she could not speak, only whimpering. Mm. Seayun frowned slightly and walked forward slowly when he saw the strange expression on Princess Scarlet Rainbow's face. Just as he was about to ask, Taihan at the side suddenly opened his eyes and said indifferently, Your Highness Seayun, Princess Scarlet Rainbow is fine. Please don't interfere in this matter. Just watch the show from the sidelines, Your Highness. Qing Chunzi of Flying Immortal Sect smiled as well. Seayun's gaze swept past the two of them and landed on Immortal Tai Hua, who was not far away, vaguely guessing something. Seayun pondered for a moment before retreating to the side to wait and see. Ooh, ooh. Princess Scarlet Rainbow let out continuous sounds. Seayun shook his head slightly with an apologetic expression. As long as Princess Scarlet Rainbow was fine, he did not care about the lives of others. In fact, some people might even become his opponents for the Earth ranking. Even if they were suppressed and killed, he would not interfere. The eighth was from Mountain Sea Immortal Sect, Prince Yunlei. 1,000 years ago, Prince Yunlei took part in the Immortal Sect selection at the same time as Princess Scarlet Rainbow. However, he joined Mountain Sea Immortal Sect. After Prince Yunlei left his name on the stele, he heard Princess Scarlet Rainbow's whimper and sensed something unusual. His gaze swept past Immortal Tai Hua, Tai Han, and Qing Chunzi, and his heart skipped a beat. Although their locations seemed casual, they were extremely particular. Any cultivator that arrived before the Earth ranking stele could fall into their encirclement. Yun Ting's heart skipped a beat as he deduced the rough truth and retreated to the other side to watch. 9th, Prince Yun Tao of the Zixin Immortal Kingdom. 10th, Yi Fei of Heaven and Earth Academy. When Yi Fei reached level 5, the elders of the academy became nervous. Yi Fei was the #1 of the outer sect competition, and the academy had high hopes for him. Everyone outside the 9 heavens knew what was about to happen. However, Yifei did not know that a gigantic trap awaited him ahead. As long as he arrived at the Earth-ranking stele, Taihan and the others would attack and not give him a chance to leave his name on the stele. This was also the brilliance of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. With the involvement of Immortal Taihua and Taihan, the two of them could join forces as long as they arrived at the stele first. The combination of the two of them was enough to suppress anyone caught off guard. Furthermore, as time passed by, more and more cultivators from the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect arrived. As for the cultivators of Heaven and Earth Academy, every time someone arrived at the stele, they would be suppressed and sealed until Suzimo appeared. 9 heavens. Wild winds howled and gravel filled the air. For some reason, there was a murderous aura in this space. In the sand, Yifei advanced continuously and finally caught sight of the Earth-ranking stele that was 100 feet tall in the sand. There were also some cultivators scattered around the Earth-ranking stele, resting with their eyes closed. Among them was a woman. From afar, she looked like Princess Scarlet Rainbow from her clothes and figure. Due to the yellow sand blocking his vision, his spirit consciousness could not extend too far, and Yifei could not see everything clearly. Princess Scarlet Rainbow's eyes widened as she watched Yifei approach. However, she could not speak and could only use her full strength to whimper. However, her mouth was sealed by Immortal Taihua, and even the whimpering sound was extremely soft. Unless one was close, they would not be able to hear it. Yifei strode forward quickly and gradually approached the stele of the Earth ranking, gradually making out the few people around him. Feng Yin, Taihua, Taihan. That woman was indeed Princess Scarlet Rainbow, Junior Sister Scarlet Rainbow. To think that you're even faster than me, Yifei said loudly with a smile and continued advancing towards the Earth-ranking stele. Princess Scarlet Rainbow could hear Yifei's voice, but she could not hear him. The more that was the case, the more anxious she became. Yifei took a few more steps forward and suddenly stopped. Narrowing his gaze slightly, he looked at the few cultivators around the Earth-ranking stele with a bewildered expression. The fact that Princess Scarlet Rainbow did not reply alarmed him. He swept his gaze across the locations of Immortal Taihua, Taihan, and Qing Chunzi and noticed something unusual. Something isn't right. Yifei frowned with a grim expression. As expected of the number 1 of Heaven and Earth Academy's outer sect, your alertness has already surpassed others. Suddenly, Qing Chunzi of Flying Immortal Sect opened his eyes and chuckled. At the same time, Taihan moved and charged towards Yifei at an extremely fast speed. Qing Chunzi lunged towards Yifei as well. Initially, the two of them wanted to wait for Yifei to get closer before attacking. To think that Yifei would notice something unusual beforehand. Yifei's reaction was extremely fast as well, and he retreated the moment Qing Chunzi spoke. Be it Taihan or Qing Chunzi, they were both above him in the rankings. If it was a one-on-one fight, he had a chance of winning. However, he had no chance of winning if the two of them joined forces. Furthermore, there was Immortal Taihua over there. Yifei was extremely decisive and made a decision in a flash. He had no intention of fighting Taihan and Qing Chunzi. He wanted to leave this place right away and gather his fellow sect mates from the academy before making further plans. Otherwise, if disciples of the academy arrived one after another, they would not be able to defend against the many cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. In such a short period of time, all of Yifei's countermeasures were already the best solution. However, Taihan and Qing Chunzi were way too strong. Neither of them would let him leave so easily. Up! Taihan channeled his essence spirit and hollered softly. A gigantic ice wall appeared out of thin air behind Yifei and blocked his path forward. He could not let any disciples of the academy off in case anything changed. Taihan did not hold back either and released a greater divine power right away. Yifei condensed a sword with his fingers and channeled his essence spirit. With a soft shout, he stabbed towards the ice wall behind him. Boom! A resplendent sword beam burst forth from his finger sword, piercing a hole in the ice wall. However, with that slight delay, Qing Chunzi's attack had already descended. Yifei was helpless and could only defend once more. Qing Chunzi chuckled and did not fight Yifei head-on. He merely condensed his qi into threads with both hands and held the latter back. On the other side, Taihan arrived and slashed down at Yifei's head with his palm like a saber. A chilling intent enveloped him, and Yifei shuddered. His blood qi circulated slowly and was almost frozen into ice. It was so strong. Yifei was alarmed. He condensed his finger sword and stabbed in reverse, colliding with Taihan's palm saber. Crack, crack, crack. Instantly, a layer of frost covered Yifei's finger sword. Frost spread along his arm continuously. On the other side, the 10 thin black threads condensed by Qing Chunzi's fingers coiled around Yifei's body and bound his limbs. The combination of two top-tier experts forced Yifei into a corner in a few rounds. Chapter 2217, 2217 Tree, 2217 Tree. Screech. Yifei spat out a stream of white qi that pierced towards Qing Chunzi's face like a flying sword. It was sharp and was not inferior to divine weapons. Qing Chunzi did not dare to be careless and dodged hurriedly. At the same time, Yifei's blood qi surged and the sound of a tsunami echoed. The essence qi in his body spewed and released streams of sword qi that resembled dragons. They buzzed and circled around him with an extraordinary aura. Bloodline phenomenon. Yifei knew that he was in a desperate situation and did not dare to hold back at all. Clang, clang. The 10 essence qi threads released by Qing Chunzi were severed by the sword qi. The frost on Yifei's body shattered under the baptism of the sword qi as countless ice shards flew everywhere. Seal. Right then, an indifferent voice sounded beside him. A powerful rune descended and penetrated the bloodline phenomenon around Yifei, imprinting multiple sword qi on his chest. Immortal Taihua had attacked. The rune emitted a strange power that even Yifei's bloodline phenomenon could not defend against. Yifei grunted dully and his body shuddered. The bloodline sword qi surrounding him dissipated as well. He wanted to activate his essence spirit and release his essence spirit secret skill to attempt to gather essence qi. However, he realized that his essence spirit and essence qi were completely sealed by a powerful power. Is this the method of a reincarnated immortal? Yifei looked at immortal Taihua, who was not far away, and sneered. Bullying with numbers? How shameless. Immortal Taihua's expression darkened. Although he was an earth immortal, due to his status as a reincarnated immortal, he had always thought of himself as a perfected immortal. Yifei's rude words were equivalent to a mere earth immortal challenging a perfected immortal like him. Killing intent rose in his heart, but he suppressed it quickly. Initially, immortal Taihua had no intention of attacking. However, when he saw that Taihan and Qing Chunzi could not suppress Yifei after a few rounds, he was a little impatient. Worried that something might happen, he sealed Yifei. You had better watch out when you speak in front of me, lest trouble comes from your mouth. Immortal Taihua's tone was indifferent, but there was killing intent hidden within. I'll give Heaven and Earth Academy some face this time round and not stoop to your level. Thereafter, Immortal Taihua's spirit consciousness moved and released another rune, sealing Yifei's mouth. Yufeng, Yunlei and Xie Yun shook their heads. The combat strength of Immortal Taihua, Taihan, and Qing Chunzi could almost be ranked top 5 on the Earth ranking. If the three of them joined forces, even Feng Yin might not be able to gain any advantage, let alone Yifei. Feng Yin had not opened his eyes the entire time and was indifferent towards this matter. He was still resting with his eyes closed. Taihan brought Yifei, who could not speak either, to the side of the steel. He moved the latter beside Princess Scarlet Rainbow and assumed the same posture of recuperating. Ooh. Princess Scarlet Rainbow looked at Yifei as though she wanted to say something. Yifei had a cold expression and did not say anything the entire time. As the number 1 of the outer sect of the Academy, he represented not only himself, but also Heaven and Earth Academy. Heaven and Earth Academy would definitely not wait for death. He would definitely not allow the scheme of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect to succeed. He remained silent and waited in silence. In the square, the elders of Heaven and Earth Academy had extremely terrible expressions. Good, good, good. Elder Zhong grit his teeth and suppressed the rage in his heart. The Great Gene Immortal Sect and Flying Immortal Sect are indeed capable. Heaven and Earth Academy will remember today's humiliation and definitely return it in the future. The actions of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect were not only targeted at Su Zimo. In the face of many sects, factions, and countless cultivators at the 10,000-year meet, this was also a heavy slap for Heaven and Earth Academy. Even Yi Fei could not last more than a few breaths, let alone the other disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy. As time passed by, more and more cultivators arrived at the Earth-ranking stele. Including Taihan, there were already 6 people on the side of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom. Including Immortal Tai Hua, there were already 7 people from Flying Immortal Sect. Later on, even without Immortal Tai Hua making a move, the other cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect could suppress and seal the disciples of the Academy in less than a breath. At that moment, there were already 10 Heaven and Earth Academy disciples sealed in front of the Earth-ranking stele. There were already 48 names on the Earth-ranking stele. Level 4. Su Zimo's journey was smooth, and he arrived at the teleportation formation in the center without any obstacles. First, he lowered his head to check the ranking on the badge. There was enough time. He surveyed his surroundings and locked his gaze on a willow tree not far away. The willow tree had existed for a long time, and its trunk was upright with rough bark. Its branches were smooth and emerald green as they hung in midair, swaying gently with the breeze. Although the willow tree was ancient, it emitted an extremely exuberant life force. However, compared to the lush greenery around him, the willow tree before him was a little strange and terrifying. That was because dried human skins were hung on the inverted tender willow branches. Because they had no flesh or bones, the shriveled human skins looked extremely menacing. Even in death, there was an inexplicable fear on their faces. Some of the willow branches even had cultivators hanging on them. They were the Earth Immortals who were taking part in the elimination round of the Earth ranking this time round and had clearly died not long ago. The seemingly weak willow branches coiled around the necks of the cultivators. If one focused their attention, they would be able to notice that there were even tiny spikes on the willow branches that pierced the blood vessels on the necks of the cultivators, slowly absorbing their life force. Before long, the Earth Immortals would end up as dried human skin as well. Even for Su Zimo, who was used to killing and bloodshed, he felt a hint of disgust as well. He walked towards the willow tree. If he was not wrong, the treasure in this space should be on the willow tree. Before long, Su Zimo arrived within the range of the willow tree. The willow branches with fresh corpses did not avoid him. Instead, they swayed gently with the wind and swayed the corpses with widened eyes in front of Su Zimo. Although it seemed unintentional, it was more like a warning. Foo-foo. Su Zimo smiled. You think you have what it takes to fight me just because you obtained the treasure? Su Zimo stared at the willow tree not far away and murmured. In this space, when the other Flora sensed his aura, they chose to submit and retreat, opening up a path. No Flora living being dared to fight him at all. However, the willow tree before him had lived for too long and occupied a treasure. Not only did it not give way, it even wanted to scare Su Zimo off. Junior brother Su, what are you doing here? Right then, Lu Ping finally caught up and panted. I finally understand something. Before Lu Ping could finish his sentence, a change happened. Swoosh. The moment Lu Ping entered, the gentle willow branches that swayed earlier on suddenly turned incomparably excited, as though they had sensed prey and tore through the air. Dozens of willow branches shone with a faint blood glint like bloodthirsty pythons. Barbs grew from their bodies and coiled towards Lu Ping. Chapter 22:18 22:18 Sacrifice. 2218 Sacrifice. Lu Ping was shocked and released a divine power hurriedly to defend. However, that greater divine power could not withstand a single blow from the shifting willow branches and was shattered with ease. Suddenly, Lu Ping's vision blurred and a figure entered his line of sight. Before he could see who it was, he felt a tremendous force send him flying, and he fell to the ground not far away. Lu Ping stood up quickly and looked over instinctively when he realized that his body was fine. Su Zimo stood where he was initially and was already entangled by the dozens of spiked and blood-colored willow branches. Earlier on, Su Zimo was the one who attacked in time and pushed Lu Ping back, saving his life. "Junior brother Su," Lu Ping exclaimed and was about to step forward, prepared to attack. Pang! 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 Su Zimo shuddered and the dozens of willow branches on his body broke, letting out the sound of a bowstring snapping. "Don't come over," Su Zimo hollered without turning back. This willow tree was unlike other plants. It even dared to attack him, let alone Lu Ping who was behind him. Lu Ping stopped in his tracks hurriedly. When he chased after Su Zimo earlier on, he gradually guessed that the reason why the plants in this space suddenly became non-offensive might be because of Su Zimo. Now that he saw that, he no longer had any doubts. "Junior brother Su, be careful. I'll wait for you at the teleportation formation." Lu Ping knew that he would not be of much help even if he went forward. Instead, he would distract Su Zimo. "There's no need. Leave your name on the Earth ranking stele first. I'll rush over in a while." Su Zimo replied casually without turning back. Right now, he had yet to see the cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect join forces. If he was not wrong, those two factions were most likely at level 5. If they saw Lu Ping traveling with him, Lu Ping might be implicated instead. Lu Ping pondered for a moment and said, "That's good too. Thank you, Junior brother Su. If I hadn't met you, I would have died in level 4. See you at the ranking battle." He bowed to Su Zimo before turning to leave. After arriving at the teleportation formation, he ascended. After arriving on level 5, Lu Ping felt his body sink, as though he had gained countless pounds. His every move became much slower and more difficult. "Is this level 5? Lu Ping murmured softly and looked at the howling sand in the surroundings. Invigorated, he headed forward. After a long time, Lu Ping finally caught sight of a tall stele on the horizon ahead. It was the legendary Earth ranking stele. Lu Ping took out his badge and looked at the ranking, 58th. Haha. He was delighted. To think that not only would he be able to leave his name on the Earth ranking stele in this elimination round, his ranking would not be too low either. I wonder who else from the Academy is here? Lu Ping pondered as he strode forward quickly. If I'm not wrong, Senior Brother Yi and Junior Sister Scarlet Rainbow will definitely be ahead of me. Senior Brother Lu and Senior Brother Wang should be around the same as me. He was getting closer and closer to the Earth ranking stele. Before long, Lu Ping could already see dozens of cultivators scattered beneath the Earth ranking stele. Among them were fellow sect mates of Heaven and Earth Academy. Yi Fei and Princess Scarlet Rainbow were among them. Senior Brother Yi, you guys are so fast. Lu Ping waved his arm and greeted from afar. Everyone from Heaven and Earth Academy was still in a lotus position. They did not get up and merely widened their eyes without replying. Although Lu Ping was puzzled, he did not think too much about it. He was about to carve his name on the Earth ranking stele and was a little emotional as he smiled. Senior Brother Yi, you guys didn't expect me to arrive here so quickly, right? Actually, I nearly died in level 4. Thankfully, I met Junior Brother Su, and he brought me all the way here. That was how I surpassed everyone and arrived here. Junior Brother Su is still at level 4. He's about to arrive. When he heard that, Yi Fei's expression changed and a resolute look flashed through his eyes. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. Ah! Suddenly, Yi Fei stood up and let out a long roar, as though countless shackles had broken. His black hair turned grayish-white rapidly and danced as his face aged rapidly. However, his eyes shone with a resolute gaze. In the square, The crowd was astonished. Under normal circumstances, there was no way Yi Fei could break free from Immortal Taihua's power. At that moment, Yi Fei's condition was truly terrifying. Lifespan sacrifice art? The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy exclaimed in shock. Many cultivators present were astounded when they heard that. This secret skill came from Heaven and Earth Academy and was extremely famous in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain of the Nine Firmament Immortal Domain and even the entire heavenly world. There were only 3 levels to the secret skill. At level 1, once released, one would lose 100,000 years of lifespan instantly. However, they would obtain an immense burst of power within a short period of time. Yi Fei was not old and was around 40,000 years old. However, the lifespan of an Earth Immortal was only 200,000 years. After releasing that secret skill, it meant that Yi Fei had instantly turned from his peak age into his twilight years. This would have a huge impact on his future. Once one entered their twilight years, their blood chi and mental state would deteriorate, and there would be many dangers if they wanted to break through a major cultivation realm. What Yi Fei did was equivalent to abandoning his future in order to break free from the seal left behind by Immortal Taihua. It was not only in the square. Everyone in front of the Earth ranking stele was stunned for a moment and could not react. Nobody expected Yi Fei, who was initially sealed, to suddenly break free. Junior brother Liu, hurry and retreat. Yi Fei's eyes widened in anger as he hollered. Taihua and the others set up a trap here. Tell junior brother Su not to ascend. Because Liu Ping was traveling with Su Zimo, he was the only one who could help Su Zimo avoid this calamity. In Yi Fei's heart, he was the number 1 of the outer sect and the senior brother of Su Zimo and the others. He should do his best to protect his fellow sect mates in the academy. He should give up everything to protect the dignity of the academy. The Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect tried their best to join forces to kill junior brother Su. He could not stop them with his strength alone. All he could do was remind Su Zimo to let the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect's plan go to waste. You have a death wish. Immortal Tai Hua's expression darkened as he suddenly bounced up from the ground. Instantly, he arrived before Yi Fei and extended his palm. A gigantic rune condensed and enveloped down once more. The power that Yi Fei exchanged for releasing the lifespan sacrifice art was already used to break free from the seal on his body. Right now, he could not defend against Immortal Tai Hua at all. Grabbing Yi Fei by the throat, Immortal Tai Hua asked coldly with a murderous expression, "Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you?" Yi Fei's gaze was ferocious, but he could not channel his essence spirit and blood chi. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood towards Immortal Tai Hua's face. Caught off guard, Immortal Tai Hua turned his head hurriedly but could not dodge all of them as blood splattered on his face. Immortal Tai Hua was expressionless as blood flowed down his face slowly, making his face look extremely terrifying. You call yourself an immortal? You shameless piece of bullshit. Yi Fei's face turned purple as he cursed with difficulty. Immortal Tai Hua exerted strength in his palm and crushed Yi Fei's throat. A tremendous power surged into his consciousness and shattered his essence spirit. Yi Fei's head was torn apart, revealing a shocking hole of blood. Chapter 2219, 2219 Chase. 2219 Chase. The square was silent. At the very least, the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect knew their limits when they joined forces to deal with Heaven and Earth Academy. They merely restrained disciples of the Academy so that they could not interfere or help Su Zimo. Although the elders of Heaven and Earth Academy were indignant, they could still endure it. But now, the number 1 of Heaven and Earth Academy's outer sect, Yi Fei, was killed by Immortal Tai Hua. The situation had escalated and was even out of control. Even Heaven Immortal White Sea's eyelids twitched a few times in shock. In order to not fall out too badly with Heaven and Earth Academy when the two factions joined forces to kill Su Zimo, he and Prince Yuanzhua had instructed them not to harm the lives of anyone else from Heaven and Earth Academy. However, He had not expected Yifei to be so resolute and would rather release the lifespan sacrifice art than be controlled by others. Furthermore, Yifei even spoke rudely to Immortal Tai Hua time and again. Immortal Tai Hua was the reincarnation of a perfected immortal. Although he was at the Earth immortal realm, he possessed the pride and dignity of a perfected immortal. He could not accept being cursed and spat blood at by Yifei in front of everyone. Unable to contain his killing intent any longer, he killed Yifei on the spot. Bang! The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy slammed the table and stood up with enraged expressions. White Sea, what's the meaning of this? Elder Zhong was enraged and kicked away the table in front of him, sending it flying towards Flying Immortal Sect. In the direction of Flying Immortal Sect, the cultivators led by Heaven Immortal White Sea and the others stood up one after another and placed their palms on their storage bags. The situation between both parties was tense and a huge battle could break out at any moment. Everyone, calm down. Perfected Immortal Xieling released a thick, perfected immortal pressure that enveloped the hall. Under such a vast and majestic pressure, neither party could attack. He was hosting the 10,000-year meet this time round and naturally could not let the conflict between the two parties escalate into another fight between the Heaven Immortals. Heaven Immortal White Sea gradually regained his composure and spread his folding fan, sneering coldly, Elder Zhong, your academy disciple was the one who sent provocations repeatedly, resulting in his death. Immortal Tai Hua can't be blamed for this. Immortal Tai Hua is the reincarnation of a perfected immortal. Even I have to be respectful when I see him. How can he be insulted by an earth immortal? Elder He's gaze was filled with hatred as he said coldly, you mean to say that my academy disciple deserved to be killed? I didn't say that. Heaven Immortal White Sea shrugged his shoulders slightly and said, however, the rules of the 9 heavens are that life and death battles are allowed. Flying Immortal Sect did not break the rules either. Although everything that the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect had done up till now was shameless, it was indeed within the rules. Prince Yuan's raised his brow slightly as well and chimed in, why? Cultivators of other sects are allowed to die but not disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy? Heaven Immortal Green Peak coughed gently and said, up till this point of the elimination round, many disciples of sects and factions have died. I've never seen their seniors so agitated. Isn't the reaction of these few elders a little too exaggerated? It's not that disciples of the academy can't die. It's that they can't die in such an unjust manner. Elder Zhong shouted, if Tai Hua of Flying Immortal Sect had fought fairly with Yifei, I would have no objections even if Yifei died. However, Tai Hua and the other two surrounded Yifei and sealed him first. Now that they killed him, so what if I had a huge reaction? Am I not allowed to speak up? Heaven Immortal White Sea chuckled and said, elders, if cultivators of Flying Immortal Sect or the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom are killed, we won't say anything no matter what methods were used. No one can be blamed for their lack of competence. That's right. Prince Yuan's smiled and nodded as well, adding, you guys. Elder Zhong was filled with rage, but he had nowhere to vent it. Good man. At the side, Yun Ting suddenly raised his wine bowl and gestured in the direction of the 9 heavens before spilling the wine on the ground. Elders, let's sit down and wait for the elimination round to end. Perfected Immortal Xieling said in a deep voice, I believe that Immortal Tai Hua killed Yifei by accident in a moment of impulse. At the very least, up till now, the other disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy have not been injured. The elders of Heaven and Earth Academy had ashen expressions and refused to sit back. They stood on the spot and continued looking at the 9 heavens. In front of the Earth ranking stele. When Immortal Tai Hua killed Yifei, everything happened so suddenly that the surrounding cultivators were shocked. Even the cultivators of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect were stunned for a moment and could not react. Ooh. Princess Scarlet Rainbow's eyes were bloodshot, and she had a pained expression as she cried continuously. The other disciples of the academy that were restrained had sorrowful expressions as well. Far away, Lu Ping was shocked when he saw that. This scene had a huge impact on him. Initially, he came here with joy and excitement, prepared to carve his name on the earth-ranking steel, only to witness this scene. He was completely unprepared. Thereafter, Lu Ping finally realized what happened. Senior brother Yi is dead. Immortal Tai Hua and the others are going to attack junior brother Su here. I have to inform junior brother Su and not let him ascend. Those thoughts flashed through Lu Ping's mind. Right on the heels of that, Lu Ping grit his teeth and spun around, sprinting back the way he came. His blood chi surged, and he released all his divine powers and secret skills, channeling his speed to its limits. Tai Han's expression changed, and he realized right away that there was a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy not restrained by them. Tai Han sped towards Lu Ping. Although he had wasted some time at level 2, he was still able to catch up and be ranked 4th on the Earth ranking steel. One could imagine the speed of his movement techniques. Although Lu Ping left first, Tai Han caught up to him not long after. A chilling intent came from behind. Without turning back, Lu Ping could sense that Tai Han was getting closer and closer. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Tai Han waved his hand and gathered his essence chi, releasing a few ice blades that were as thin as cicada wings. Instantly, they tore through the air and slashed towards Lu Ping's back. Lu Ping conjured divine powers and dermic arts as he sprinted. Bang! Bang! The two of them clashed and the ice blades were extremely sharp, slicing Lu Ping's divine powers into pieces. Poof! 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 Although the few ice blades did not hit Lu Ping's vitals, they caused his body to tremble slightly, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The mouthful of blood was filled with ice shards, and his nose and mouth were filled with cold air. The difference between them was too great. Lu Ping widened his eyes and forced himself to focus. Ignoring his injuries, he continued sprinting forward. Although the power of the ice blades weakened, they still had a huge impact on his body. As time passed by, Lu Ping felt his limbs turn colder as he shivered continuously. Even his hair and brows were covered by a layer of frost. The blood chi in his body circulated slower and even showed signs of freezing. I don't want to kill you, but you had better stop in your tracks lest the coldness infiltrates your organs and bones and damages your foundation. Tai Han's emotionless voice sounded beside Lu Ping. If my ice blades invade your consciousness, even perfected immortals won't be able to save you. Chapter 2220, 2220 A Better Body. 2220 A Better Body. Whether I live or die is none of your business. Lu Ping hollered and suddenly channeled his essence spirit, releasing a secret skill. The temperature of his bloodline that was initially about to freeze rose rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it boiled with scarlet flames. Lu Ping's figure turned into a streak of flames, and his speed increased exponentially, almost flying through the air. He sprinted into the distance and distanced himself from Tai Han rapidly. Frowning, Tai Han hastened to catch up as well. However, even if his movement technique was at its limits, he would only be able to match Lu Ping at most and would not be able to close in. How long can you last by burning your essence blood to release your escape technique? Tai Han said coldly, when you can't hold on any longer, the attacks of the ice blades in your body will become even more ferocious and you'll definitely die. Essence blood was equivalent to the foundation of a cultivator's blood chi. This escape technique was rare to begin with, and its effect was extremely shocking the moment it was released. This blood ignition escape technique was similar to dermic blood escape, but different. The dermic blood escape technique expended a portion of the cultivator's blood chi in exchange for a momentary increase in speed without damaging his foundation and body. However, the blood ignition escape technique required one to burn his essence blood continuously. If he could not stop it and his essence blood burned continuously, it would eventually cause irreparable damage to the cultivator and touch their foundation. They might even die. The reason why Lu Ping could defend against the invasion of the frost chi and ice blades for the time being was because of the immense power released by burning his essence blood. On the one hand, that power was used to increase his speed. On the other hand, it was used to defend against the frost chi and ice blades in his body. Once his essence blood was depleted and the cold chi invaded, he would definitely die, as Tai Han had said. Lu Ping knew it as well, but he did not stop in his tracks. If not for Junior Brother Su, I would have died in level 4. My life was saved by Junior Brother Su. I can't let him ascend. Senior Brother Yi sacrificed himself and died. I must not let him down. Not only do I have to remind Junior Brother Su, I have to remind my fellow sect mates from the academy. I have to hold on. Lu Ping recalled those thoughts repeatedly. His essence blood burned faster and faster, and his body became weaker as the journey grew longer. However, his gaze became firmer. I must meet Junior Brother Su alive. I want to tell him everything so that he can prevent our other fellow disciples. With that obsession, Lu Ping actually burst forth with a shocking will to survive against Tai Han's pursuit. Like Yi Fei, he refused to submit. In the square, everyone was moved when they saw the academy cultivator who was burning with flames but had a cold aura above his head. Although he had a pale expression, his gaze was resolute. At that moment, many cultivators finally understood why Heaven and Earth Academy was one of the 4 immortal sections. Everyone gradually understood what Yi Fei wanted to protect even at the cost of his life. It was the dignity of Heaven and Earth Academy. Disciples of the academy would definitely not bow down. If this continues, that academy disciple won't be able to survive. Sigh, I didn't expect this outcome. Heaven and Earth Academy lost 2 people in succession, and Princess Scarlet Rainbow is the only one on the Earth ranking this time round. However, they won the respect of many people. Lu Ping, an Earth immortal whose combat strength could not even pass level 4, was worlds apart from Tai Han. However, under the watchful eyes of countless cultivators, Lu Ping managed to escape from Tai Han's pursuit and finally caught sight of the teleportation formation to level 4. The elders of the academy watched everything with reddened eyes. When Lu Ping arrived at the teleportation formation, he turned back and grinned at Tai Han, who was charging over. He left level 5 and disappeared. Standing there, Tai Han hesitated for a moment but did not chase after Lu Ping. Even if he stopped chasing, Lu Ping would be a dead man. Furthermore, the terrain of level 4 was complicated and the vegetation was lush. If he encountered Su Zimo inside, the outcome would be unpredictable and there was no need for him to take the risk. At that thought, Tai Han turned around and walked towards the earth-ranking stele. Level 4. In front of the gigantic willow tree, Su Zimo held a small jade green branch in his hands. That tree branch was the treasure of level 4. The treasure was called the Jupiter Wood, but it was actually a stone that fell off Jupiter Wood. However, it looked like a tree branch and was filled with life. Su Zimo held the Jupiter Wood. The green lotus true body had a strong desire to devour and take the power of the Jupiter Wood for itself. He hesitated for a moment and did not throw the Jupiter Wood into the hell suppression tripod. Instead, he put it away in his storage bag first. The hell suppression tripod had a chance of repairing the 4th tripod wall after devouring the Venus stone. Although the Azure Dragon's sacred soul showed no signs of awakening, if he obtained other treasures later on, it would not be too late to give them to the hell suppression tripod. However, there were not many treasures suitable for the green lotus true body to absorb. One after another, the willow branches danced around Su Zimo and brushed his shoulders gently. They looked extremely docile and no longer had the aggression from earlier on. The middle of the willow tree was split apart forcefully by Su Zimo as he snatched the Jupiter Wood away. Even with the help of the Jupiter Wood, its strength could not fight against the creation green lotus. At that moment, it knew that its life and death depended on a single thought of Su Zimo and began to plead for mercy. Su Zimo had a mocking expression as he looked at the willow tree before him and sneered, "You're only thinking of begging for mercy now? MMM?" Suddenly, Su Zimo sensed something and glanced sideways at the teleportation formation not far away. A figure staggered over with a pale face and purplish lips. It was Lu Ping, who had ascended not long ago. What happened? Su Zimo hurried forward and hollered, "Junior brother Su, I'm not going to make it. Please don't ascend." When Lu Ping saw Su Zimo, he felt relieved and panted. Tai Hua and the others are guarding the steel of the Earth ranking, prepared to join forces to deal with you. Everyone else in the academy has been sealed by them. Let's talk about it later. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness moved and scanned Lu Ping, frowning. Lu Ping's essence blood was completely burned. At that moment, Tai Han's frost chi ice blades that entered his body released a terrifying might. His flesh, bones, and organs had already frozen into ice. Su Zimo went forward to support Lu Ping. The moment his palm made contact with Lu Ping's arm, it shattered into countless ice shards. Lu Ping's body was completely crippled with no life left. The cold chi surged into Lu Ping's consciousness, wanting to freeze his essence spirit. Humph! Sensing this, Su Zimo attacked decisively and released a rich and pure essence chi that surged into Lu Ping's body, shattering the frost chi ice blades. Lu Ping's essence spirit survived. However, his body was also shattered by this clash, turning into ice shards that scattered beneath Su Zimo's feet. It's nothing much to lose this body. At the very least, I managed to survive. Lu Ping's essence spirit laughed bitterly. A thought jolted through Su Zimo's mind as he suddenly said, "That body of yours is nothing much as well. I'll give you a better body." Chapter 22-21 22-21 Assimilation 2221 Assimilation. A better body? Lu Ping smiled bitterly, thinking that Su Zimo was comforting him. This is the nine heavens. There's no physical body to replace mine. Su Zimo remained silent and escorted Lu Ping's essence spirit back to the willow tree. The willow tree seemed to have realized something as well and was a little afraid, causing its drooping branches to sway slightly. "I'll give you two choices now," Su Zimo said indifferently. "First, I'll kill your essence spirit. Your soul will disperse and all your memories will be erased." The creation green lotus was the only god among plants in the world. The plants in this space might not recognize the creation green lotus. However, when they sensed Su Zimo's aura, they felt a fear that came from the depths of their souls and chose to submit. As for the willow tree, its greed caused it to want to make use of the Jupiter wood to devour Su Zimo when it sensed the powerful life force emanating from him. Initially, Su Zimo had no intention of letting it off. The willow tree trembled and its tender branches caressed Su Zimo's clothes continuously, as though it was begging for mercy. Su Zimo continued, "Second choice, don't resist and let my senior brother of the same sect assimilate you. Your essence spirits will fuse, and he will inherit your memories as well. From a certain perspective, you will be reborn in another way. Furthermore, you will leave this place and see the wider world outside." Actually, it was not a problem for Su Zimo to kill the willow tree essence spirit and let Lu Ping's essence spirit reside in the body of the willow tree. However, Lu Ping was a human while the willow tree belonged to the Flora race. Even if Lu Ping could control the body of the willow tree, he would feel immense discomfort and rejection. He would not be able to unleash the full power of the body. The body of the willow tree had lived for a long time and devoured countless Earth immortals in level 4. Its life force was immense and unimaginable. Even heaven immortals of the human race could not compare to it. All these years, it had even taken over the Jupiter wood to cultivate. The power contained in this body was extremely terrifying. Otherwise, it would not have dared to challenge Su Zimo. The only way to unleash the full power of the willow tree body was if the willow tree essence spirit did not resist while Lu Ping assimilated it. Although the willow tree would die, Lu Ping could inherit its memories. It was equivalent to the fusion of two essence spirits. That way, this body would not reject Lu Ping's essence spirit. This was the best of both worlds for Lu Ping and the willow tree. After a moment of silence, the willow tree released a spirit consciousness and agreed to the decision. If it did not agree, it would be killed by Su Zimo. It might as well be assimilated by Lu Ping and leave this world. Junior brother Su? Lu Ping listened at the side and gradually understood what Su Zimo meant. You can inherit this body first. If you don't like it, you can replace it if you meet something better in the future. Su Zimo said. All right. Lu Ping agreed excitedly. Without the protection of his body, his essence spirit could meet with danger at any moment. Furthermore, the body of the willow tree before him did not seem bad. At that moment, Lu Ping had yet to realize how terrifying and vast the power contained within the body of the willow tree was. This was the greatest opportunity for him up till this point of his cultivation. Su Zimo sent Lu Ping's essence spirit into the willow tree's consciousness. Although time was tight, he was in no hurry to leave. He stood on the spot and guarded silently with a burning gaze. The willow tree was way too bold. It was not impossible for it to change its mind and devour Lu Ping's essence spirit after he left. Sensing Su Zimo's gaze, the final ripple in the willow tree's heart calmed down as well. It gave up on resisting completely and allowed Lu Ping's essence spirit to assimilate it. The two essence spirits began to make contact and gradually fused. The essence spirit of the willow tree was a gigantic green light. Although it was still an earth immortal, the power of its essence spirit released by the ball of light was much stronger than Lu Ping's essence spirit. In the face of that gigantic green light, Lu Ping's essence spirit was at most a fingernail-sized spot of light. If it had not given up on resisting completely, Lu Ping would not have been able to succeed in his assimilation. Under Su Zimo's gaze, the light spot absorbed the energy of the green light bit by bit and grew stronger. Before long, the energy of Lu Ping's essence spirit finally surpassed the willow tree, and his devouring speed increased significantly. After a while, there was only an essence spirit left in the consciousness. The assimilation was successful. Of course, the memories of the willow tree were complex, and it would take Lu Ping some time to digest them completely. After the two essence spirits fused, they were not too stable and had to continue waiting. No matter what, Lu Ping's life was no longer in danger. Furthermore, after he controlled the body of the willow tree completely, there should be no one in level 4 who could threaten him. Su Zimo turned around and walked towards the teleportation formation expressionlessly, prepared to ascend to level 5. Junior brother Su, don't go. Right then, Lu Ping's spirit consciousness sounded. His essence spirit was not stable yet, and his spirit consciousness seemed ethereal. Taihua and the other sealed disciples of the academy. It was because senior brother Yi sacrificed his life to break free from the seal and warn me that I had a chance to escape. Sacrificed his life? Su Zimo paused in his tracks and frowned slightly. Senior brother Yi is dead. He released the lifespan sacrifice art and broke free from the seal on his body, reminding me to be careful and to have me stop you from ascending. Senior brother Yi Fei called Tai Hua shameless and spat out blood on his face before being killed by the latter. As Lu Ping sent the messages one after another with his spirit consciousness, Su Zimo's expression turned increasingly cold. Senior brother Yi Fei was dead. Although Su Zimo had joined Heaven and Earth Academy for 1,000 years, the two of them had only met for the first time at this 10,000-year meet. The two of them did not have much of a relationship. At most, they were sect mates. In fact, Su Zimo did not have a deep impression of senior brother Yi Fei. However, he had not expected Yi Fei to die tragically at level 5. He had once thought that as long as Heaven and Earth Academy did not interfere in his feud with the Great Gene Immortal Sect and Flying Immortal Sect, disciples of the Academy would be spared from the killing and fighting. However, he had not expected that the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect would not only want to kill him, but also teach Heaven and Earth Academy a lesson. Su Zimo's expression darkened, and his killing intent surged as he walked towards the teleportation formation. Junior brother Su, why are you still heading over? Lu Ping watched as Su Zimo walked further and further away, feeling increasingly worried. However, his essence spirit had just been synthesized and was not stable enough. He could not control the body of the willow tree completely and could not take on human form. As such, he could not leave and could only worry. Nothing much. I'm just going to bring senior brother Ye's corpse back? Standing on the teleportation formation, Su Zimo paused for a moment with a cold glint in his eyes before saying slowly, additionally, some people will have to die with him. Chapter 2222 2222 I'll start with you. 2222 I'll start with you. In the square. When they saw that, everyone who heard Su Zimo had different expressions. Some shook their heads and sighed, some looked disdainful and some looked worried. When Heaven Immortal White Sea saw Lu Ping escape and informed Su Zimo about this, he was still worried that Su Zimo would be afraid and not advance. He only heaved a sigh of relief and was relieved when he saw that Su Zimo had ascended to level 5. I know that lad too well. He won't back down. Prince Yuanzhua had a smile on his face, as though he had expected this. This lad is extremely audacious and does not have any reservations. There's nothing he doesn't dare to do. It's good for young people to be sharp and hot-blooded. Heaven Immortal White Sea smiled. Unfortunately, he's going to die this time round. At that moment, there were already 8 Earth Immortals from the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom who had arrived before the Earth ranking stele, including Tai Han. Including Immortal Tai Hua, there were 10 Earth Immortals from Flying Immortal Sect. A total of 22 people from those 2 factions had entered the 9 heavens. Right now, 18 people had already arrived and were waiting for Su Zimo to deliver himself. Among them were peak Earth Immortal experts like Immortal Tai Hua, Qing Chunzi, and Tai Han. Given such a huge lineup, even a grade 1 or 2 Heaven Immortal would most likely die here. Your Highness, will Mr. Su be all right? Su Xiaotian asked softly with a worried expression. Xie Qingqing opened his mouth slightly, wanting to speak but stopped. In the end, he sighed gently without saying anything. If Su Zimo had not released so many trump cards in the previous level 4, he might have had a chance of survival. But now, he had expended a lot of energy to clear level 4. He had already released many trump cards in advance and could not release them again within a short period of time. On the other side, Immortal Tai Hua, Qing Chunzi, Tai Han, and the other Earth Immortals had been waiting for a long time to conserve their energy. Notwithstanding the difference in strength between the 2 parties, there was a huge difference in terms of condition. How could this battle be fought? The elders of the academy stood on the spot with sorrowful expressions. They could not stop Su Zimo from ascending and could only let the situation develop. Among everyone present, there might only be a single person who was the most relaxed and calm. Yun Ting looked at the figure in the 9 heavens and drank a bowl of strong wine, murmuring, "You won't disappoint me, right?" To be fair, even if he was in the same position, he could not guarantee that he would win this round. Ferocious winds howled and yellow sand billowed. In front of the Earth ranking stele, a corpse laid there motionlessly with most of its body covered by the sandstorm. At the side, there were dozens of figures scattered around, either sitting or standing. Everyone had different expressions, but their eyes that opened occasionally revealed a hint of anticipation. Before long, a figure strode over from afar. It was Tai Han, who had chased after Lu Ping earlier on and had finally returned. Where is he? Qing Chunzi raised his brow and asked. He escaped? Tai Han did not say much and replied coldly. He escaped? Qing Chunzi frowned and questioned. You're the great commander of the Earth Execution Guards. How could you let a nobody like that escape? He burned his essence blood to release his escape technique. I can't catch up to him. Tai Han said, however, he won't be able to survive after being struck by my ice blades. Immortal Tai Hua opened his eyes and sneered. He was a little angry as well as he grumbled, however. If he tells Su Zimo about this, our preparations might go to waste. No. Tai Han's voice did not fluctuate either as he said, before this, I studied Su Zimo. If he knew that a disciple of the academy died in our hands, he would definitely ascend. Oh. Immortal Tai Hua asked, he will come despite knowing that he will die? He's not afraid of death, Tai Han said coldly. Just as Immortal Tai Hua was about to speak, his expression changed. At the same time, All the cultivators before the earth-ranking steel sensed something. Some people who were resting with their eyes closed opened them as well. Even Feng Yin's expression changed as he looked into the distance. In the endless yellow sand, a figure was walking over slowly. That person seemed to be extremely slow. However, every single step caused the ground beneath everyone's feet to tremble, as though a supreme ferocious beast was about to be born deep underground. An extremely terrifying killing intent filled the world that sent shivers down one's spine. He was here. Immortal Taihua and the other 17 top Earth Immortals of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect stood up one after another. Their gazes intensified and powerful auras burst forth from their bodies, howling towards the figure like a tsunami. All the Earth Immortals who could reach this place and leave their names on the Earth-ranking steel had been famous for many years. All of them were peerless paragons. Any one of the 18 people would not be afraid of Su Zimo. Boom, boom, boom. Su Zimo's aura collided with the incoming aura, and it was as though a series of thunderclaps sounded in the firmaments, causing space to tremble. Su Zimo did not retreat a single step and was still advancing. He actually dares to come? Yufeng of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect frowned slightly. Perhaps he wants to perish together with these paragons of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect. Xie Yun sighed gently. Perish together? Yun Lei shook his head. With Immortal Taihua, Qing Chunzi and Taihan, the 3 Earth Immortals, he won't even have the chance. What a strong killing intent. Far away, Feng Yin suddenly murmured. In a flash, Taihua and the others rushed forward and surrounded Su Zimo in the blink of an eye. When Xie Yun saw that there was no one guarding Princess Scarlet Rainbow, he came to the side and circulated a dermic art, wanting to remove the seal in her body. However, Immortal Taihua's seal was way too domineering. He released consecutive dermic arts, but could only dispel the seal on Princess Scarlet Rainbow's tongue. Most of the restrictions on her body could not be shaken. Junior brother Su. Princess Scarlet Rainbow had a pained expression. Just as she could speak, she roared, Senior brother Yu was killed by Taihua. You have to take revenge for him and kill Taihua. Don't worry. Surveying his surroundings, Su Zimo looked at Taihua and the others and said slowly, all the Earth Immortals of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect will have to die with Senior Brother Yi in the 9 heavens today. Fu. Qing Chunzi shook his head and chuckled with a mocking expression. Su Zimo, you might not have realized the situation you're in, right? Let me introduce myself. Qing Chunzi raised his head slightly and was interrupted by Su Zimo the moment he spoke. You don't have to introduce yourself. Su Zimo glared at Qing Chunzi, who was not far away, and said coldly, I'll start with you. Before his sentence was finished, Su Zimo stomped heavily on the ground. The entire ground shook violently. Crack. Immediately after, right in front of everyone, a gigantic and dark crack appeared on the ground of level 5. A buzzing sound of a sword echoed from within with a boiling, killing intent. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.